Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday evening. It's Sunday, May the 5th, and it's 7 o'clock and on the dot, and we are right here, ready to go. How is everybody doing? Did you get some rest today? Oh my goodness, we needed it. Yesterday was amazing. It was so wonderful to see everybody and look you in the eye and get a hug and a handshake and a smile and an encouragement. We encouraged each other yesterday. It was really, really wonderful to see everybody. Did you feel the excitement out there? Did you see the determination in the people? I said, look at my Bajan people. Look at what is happening. Oh my goodness. We are seeing a revolution. And the revolution that I'm talking about is not one of violence. It's not one of ammunition, but there is a changing of our attitudes. There's a changing of our mindsets. There's a changing in our understanding of who we are. We are taking responsibility. And that is the kind of revolution that I'm talking about. It's a revolution that is holding our leaders accountable. And we were out there yesterday holding them accountable and saying to them, hey, we put you there and you're accountable to us. Now that's a revolution. That's a revolution. I mean, it was wonderful seeing everybody, the unity, the camaraderie. Oh my Lord, it was wonderful. I look forward to next week, Saturday. How about you? Because we are out there again next week, Saturday, 10 o'clock, same time, same place. Huh? Oh my goodness. And I know it will be the same feeling and it will be more people. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Oh my goodness. Bajan Boy was first on. Yes, Bajan Boy. Good evening. 5:49 p.m. Good evening. Joy and Faith. Good evening. Deborah Marshall. Good evening. If you were out there with us, give me a thumbs up. Were you on the road yesterday representing? Representation is important. Were you out there representing? Ah, Junie Rock, how you doing? Good night. Saw a little bit of the march today and was very excited. Yes, we had a very nice crowd, you know, and it's wonderful. Yes, people are going to be in Parliament tomorrow. Some of our own people will be in Parliament. Dr. Ferdinand Nichols will be speaking in Parliament tomorrow, and Kemar Stewart will be speaking in Parliament tomorrow, and some others will be as well. And so we are excited, excited. If you heard from the Clerk of Parliament and you are going to be speaking in Parliament, can you send me a message so we can pick you up as well? It's not just the panelists, it's about everybody. It's not just about Dr. Ferdinand and about Kemar Stewart, but it's all of us. I've been encouraging, I want some of our young people, early 20s. There's a team that helped them to put presentations together. I'm hoping that they were called in because that's what we want to do, to encourage others to go forward. Yes, I know Miss McLean is waiting to know if she is going to be able to speak. Born Again, good night. I want to know, Born Again, did you send a little package um, with someone for me? I'm not sure if it's you, so please message me. You have my number. Message me and let me know if it's you. Erwin Nurse, good night. Owen Hines, good night. Cecilia Milia, did I see you? I think I saw you, Cecilia, yesterday. Diana Husbands, Galbiz. I know I saw Galbiz yesterday. Galbiz, oh my Lord, she was having a ball. Her whole family, they were all out there, I tell you. Ryan Rock, good evening. Oh, Ramim, good evening, Ramim. I think I saw you too as well. Sandra Franklin, yes, I saw you. Wonderful. I love to read Ramim. So Ramim writes, she says, patriotic opposition. The point of power is always now. Time for action. No stillbirth, our future generations' dreams. No stillbirth of our future generations' dreams. It is time to push like never before. Operation Rescue and Restore. I think she meant Restore BIM. Go. Sanchez, good night, Sanchez. We are not afraid. I want everybody. There are over 453 of you signed on at this time. Can I have everybody just say that? Just open your mouth and say what's on the screen. We are not afraid. You could even say it being fearful. That's okay. As the saying says, courage is not the absence of fear. Sometimes you might be doing things and you're afraid as well while you're doing it. Yeah. So if everybody could say together, we are not afraid. And then change it to I am not afraid. I am not afraid. We are not afraid. We can afford to say that because we know who is with us. Hey, Llewellyn, good to know you're back and you're feeling much better. Yes, we're speaking it into being. James Harding, good night. Sandra Brewster, good night. Hi, Marcia, my namesake. Good Sunday evening to all loyal opposition sons and daughters. Hope you all had a good day. That's a greeting from Marcia. Sir Alfred Benjamin, I tell you, I swear you're on every night. Did you all hear the opposition leader on in New York City? I heard he was on a program up there. Good evening, loyal sons and daughters, Sir Alfred says. Knowledge, 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 and truth is on TMWS, locked on from Brooklyn, New York City. And I hope you're sharing, Sir Alfred. Oh my goodness. CG, CG, if you held a placard in your hand, thank this woman, CG. You thank CG and listen, your donations has gone to her to prepare some more placards. Yesterday she came and she said, listen, I want to prepare some more placards now. So she's gonna have some more new stuff for us on Saturday. Saturday we're out again, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Yes, yes. Colin Clark. Hi, Colin Clark. Marvin Allen, good night. Yes, don't forget to like and share. I don't do that enough. My motivation really is not even I'm trying to grow the channel. I just really want to educate. So Mr. Franklin does a way better job than I do, on this. But I'm gonna follow Mr. Franklin's lead and ask everybody to stop right now and to like there's a thumb, just a little thumb there on the left hand side. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, it's on the left, I think, as well. And just click it. Just click that now. If you could just stop, this is a good time to do it now. All right, before you get too involved in the program, etc. But if you could just like and to subscribe, there's a little bell there. And if you click that bell, then whenever we come on, then we're going to know you will get a notification that we're on. So just like the show. You like the show, then it's going to come up more in the feeds. All right. The algorithm begins to kick in and it's going to come up, right? And suggest it to people. You see? And that's what you can do when you come on. It's a simple thing. So if everybody right now, Emerson Bob, please stop and like. Greetings from the UK. Yes, Emerson. Like it for me, UK. Emerson Rose, can you do that, please? Margaret Pollard, good night. Can you just click that thumbs up button for me, please? Marvin Allen, Cam R. Guys, we've got to push. They would want to do everything to stop the show, but we're going to push and push. Like it. Mark Clark. Hey, Mark, it was good to see you yesterday. Thank you, Mark. Can you like? Please hit the like button. Tracy Barrow. Hey, Tracy. Good to have seen you yesterday. Romeo Hinkson, good night. Hasbro, good night. Wonderful. Hasbro, can you hit the like button, please? The thumbs up. Thank you. Give us a thumbs up, guys. Give us a like. Somebody give me just a little. Tell me how many likes we have out of the 591 persons that's on. Like and subscribe. Do that now if you've not done it. Like and subscribe. Those of you who are older, call your grandchildren, man, and anybody else in the house, and let them help you to get it done. FX trading, good night. And just in time. Yeah, you are just in time. Good night, Kryptonite icon. Hi, good night. ND, hello, ND. Did you like ND? Jefferson Sobers, good night. Wonderful. Tracy Barra, I know you were there. Yes, Cecilia, you were there. Galvez was there. And yes, Sandra. Yes, next week, Sandra. Next week, Sandra. I trust you will feel better and that you will be. You're going to be there, Sandra, next week. Galvez, good night. Good night, Galvez. Good night. Oh, Mr. B, good night. Chloe Hall, good night. Juliet Giddens, good night. Michael Jilks, good night. Michael Jilks, like. Gamal Jenkins, hit the like button, guys. This is a good time. You don't want to be doing that in the middle of, the different presentations. Mr. Franklin, start, because you don't want to stop listening. I know how it goes. So do it now. Do it now. Okay. Gilbert Perry, good night. Woo! Deborah Marshall, yes, you were there. Zaire was there. Mark Clark was there. Erskine Watson, how are you doing? How are you doing, Erskine? Justice shall prevail, says Erskine. That's yes. Sandra Watkins, good night. I said good night to Sandra Watkins, I think. Serlene, good night. Oh my goodness, my Mildred, how are you doing? Yes. I don't understand a word Mildred is saying, but she's saying something about the cybercrime bill. Good night, Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. Thank you for rescuing me the other night. Isn't it great to have a fantastic team that I could call on Dr. Ferdinand? I was all dressed up, dressed up, man, ready to come on, and I could not get on. We don't know what happened. We're trying to figure it out because the neighbors had Wi-Fi, said they were fine. I don't know what happened there. But the point is, though, you know what the point of that was? That is not about me. That was the point. That's a good point. So you know what I did? I took off my clothes and lay down in my chair, get my scripture, started reading and praying for the show. And that's a good lesson. It's not. That's why I tell you all. It's not about the panelists. It's not about me. It's not about Caswell. It's not about Kimar. It's not about Dr. Ferdinand. It's not about any of us individually. It's us as a group of people. It's us as a nation. It's you. It's the people who log on. And look how the show was awesome. Everybody told me how amazing the show was. And I could not get on. It's not about me. Halloween, good night. Oh, my Lord. Victor Lewis. Victor Lewis. Oh, Victor, so you might be in Parliament. Let me write that down as well. Victor might be in Parliament as well. Victor Lewis. I know Dr. Ferdinand will be, and I know that Kimar will be, and we are waiting to hear about Maxine McLean. Yes. Yes. The Charlene. Yes. Okay. So those persons who don't know what is happening in Parliament. Oh my goodness, it's 7:14 and I haven't done the anthem as yet. Please inform us on who didn't get the memo on what exactly is going on in Parliament tomorrow. Thank you, Trevor. We're talking like we're family and everybody know we're all family, but some people not home all the time, so we have to let everybody know. All right, so what is happening in Parliament tomorrow, starting May the 6th tomorrow, is that the members of the public are invited in Parliament to give presentations on the cybercrime bill, because there is the parliamentary committee is meeting tomorrow, and they have asked the public to come in and to share presentations on what their thoughts are on the cybercrime bill. There are even Barbadians in the diaspora, I was told, are being allowed to share on Zoom their presentations on Zoom. And I'm hoping that people like Niall Harper would share, because he has a lot of information. And so we should be all tuned in tomorrow to see what is happening there on the cybercrime bill. And speaking about bills, Eric Lawrence, thank you for joining. The child protection bill. I have to speak to Mr. Franklin about that. I'm hearing that that is going to be up for debate on the 14th. This is going really fast, and I don't know why they're doing that. And they have not come back to the public as yet. But we're going to talk about that. But I'm running ahead of myself tonight, and we're going to have our national anthem. Okay, so we are a bit late with that, but you know what? It's never too late for the anthem, you know? So we're going to have our national anthem. And so get ready to be at attention and to the national anthem. Yay! Ha 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 ha! Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Listen, I tell you, this anthem, every time I hear it played, there's something about it that does something to me. And I just want to say to us Barbadians who are listening to me tonight, you just heard the anthem, and that's not an anthem of a people who are afraid. That says to me it's an anthem of people who are courageous and are ready to rise and build their nation. It's a set of people who are not afraid, like the Barbadians who were part of the 1937 riots. They called it the disturbances. But you know what? We need some disturbances here. And you know, we don't need to have one with sticks and stones and weapons. But we need some righteous disturbances. We need some righteous disturbances that need to occur, because out of the disturbances, when we have the when we have things remaining the same, when we have the status quo, everything going the way it is supposed to go, we don't get change. You don't get change like that. You got to go and shake it up sometimes, and that's what the marches are about. And they did not expect all of this. They didn't expect all of this. You know, someone involved in those, with these some of these members of parliament, they said, these marches are really giving them a warm time. They're very concerned about them. I heard that they're very concerned. That this is the one that they didn't expect. They picked up cold water and threw it on political parties and felt that they were dead. They threw water on their fire and they looked at the wood in the fire and they said, oh, it's all wet, it's dead. They just didn't realize that there was a wildfire happening somewhere over there that nobody, they don't know how it got started. You know, these fires, these cane fires that start and nobody knows how it started. Yeah. And that's what's happening. Yeah. That is what's happening. And before Mr. Franklin comes on, I want to just read for you the names of these heroes. The 1937 riots heroes, those who died. They died while they were working. They were fighting for better working conditions, which Mr. Franklin has been pushing on the show. Through the show, I recognize how horrible some of the working conditions are for public servants in Barbados. Isn't that the truth? But there are some people who died so that there would be the establishment of the labor department, the labor officer. They didn't have that before, the employment of a labor officer, the passing of the Labor Act or the Minimum Wage Act. People died, y'all. People died. So our little march coming out on next week, Saturday, is nothing for us to do. It's nothing for us to do. Yeah? People died. The passing of the employment of women, young persons, and children, bringing an end to child labor. There were some people who died, Barbados. They died. Some of them died even feeling afraid, but they went out there and fought for something. And I'm saying to us, let us stand up for something. We are alive now. Let us live for something. That's what they died for. The passing of the Working Men's Compensation Act. The passing of the Trade Union Act that you can have, Mr. Franklin can have the Unity Workers Union. Thank God for it in this time, because our government has bought up all the other unions. And that's why these persons who died, and I'm going to read their name, 9 persons died in the 1937 riots. You hear me, Barbados? The activating of the Old Age Pension Act, the extension of the Social Welfare Office, the increase of the police force. Listen to me, these are the names. Ralph Hamblin. Can everybody just say his name? Ralph Hamblin. From Dunlow, St. Michael. He died for all of that, fighting for all of that. St. Clair Gittins. Real heroes. Adriana Rock, a woman from Britain's Hill. St. Clair Gittins was from Beccles Hill, St. Michael. Joshua Harewood from Halls Road, St. Michael. These are those who died in the 1937 riots, who fought for us today. Adolphus Vaughan from New Orleans, St. Michael. DaCosta O'Neill from Boscobel, St. Peter. Darrell Rimple Caddle from Boscobel, St. Peter. Nathaniel Brown from Ashbury, St. George. They died so that we can be enjoying all of these various policies and acts that were put in place as a result of the 1937 disturbances. So listen, people, coming out on a Saturday, it's nothing. We go home alive to our families. These 9 were dead and there were 30 wounded. 30 wounded. And I say to us Barbadians, next week, Saturday at 10 o'clock, plan to be there. plan to be there. Do the grocery shopping early and plan to be there. Good night, Mr. Franklin. How are you doing?
Oh, good night. I'm well, and I'm a bit disappointed, and you know why? Because that guy who came to us yesterday about his um how he's been treated in the public service hospital to be exact,
Yes.
and the unions let him down. I decided tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about those kind of things because
Yes, yes,
it
you
is very
should.
painful, Marcia. I sat and
Mr. Franklin, before you start that, I want to say I spoke with someone tonight, and I can't say the name of the person. And they said to me, Mr. Franklin, and because I want Barbadians to understand the kinds of people that we have on these panels that's coming to speak with you. Mr. Franklin is not here trying to promote Unity Workers Union. Someone called. I spoke to someone this evening, and the person told me, Mr. Franklin. They said, Mr. Franklin doesn't know it, but he saved me from committing suicide. And I said, what do you mean by that? That person was having so many issues at work. And they said to me, you did not know. They would call late at night. They were so worried about losing their job. They had the mortgage to pay. They had so many things happening, and they were being victimized on their job. And you were able to help them. And the person said to me, he does not know that he stopped me and saved me from committing suicide because I had my mortgage to pay and they were messing with me at work and I thought I was going to lose my job. And I want to say to you, this is how serious this thing is that we're talking about, you know. And so I wanted to say that. I told them I'm going to talk about it tonight without mentioning your name. And Mr. Franklin, you know, I believe in the work that you do for Barbadians. This man does a lot of work. God bless you. Continue, sir.
Marcia, I'll first speak about the guy we encountered yesterday.
Yes.
He's been working at the hospital for a number of years, about 12. And then they just sent him home just like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they had him on contracts, continuous contracts, going on and on and on for a long period of time. The hospital is a statutory board,
Mm-hmm.
and it is governed by the Employment Rights Act. And the Employment Rights Act, let me read it for you because they don't want people to think I'm bluffing them. Normally the public service is not governed by the Employment Rights Act, but the hospital is not public service. It is a statutory board. And the Employment Rights Act says at section 51, this act does not bind the Crown, well, bind the state now, because we don't use Crown anymore, but applies to statutory corporations. So within this act, he was covered. So when they sent him home without giving him any, without having a case against him, without being post being made redundant or what have you,
Yeah.
he was entitled to compensation for unfair dismissal. But you have to file your case within 3 months of the date you are dismissed. You have to get before the chief labor officer within 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not do that, the tribunal cannot hear you unless there are some extenuating circumstances. And one of those extenuating circumstances cannot be, my union didn't file it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the union is placed in a position like a lawyer. In this case, where they would say to you, well, you had professional assistants and they should know the law.
Yes.
So when the union didn't come forward and file his case within 90 days, the union caused him to lose out on compensation for unfair dismissal for, it would have been 3 weeks pay for each year of service.
Mm-hmm.
And that is unfair. He lost everything because he did not know. And I don't expect him to know. If he is a member of a union and that union is representing him, then the union should go up there and do everything within its power to make sure that his case is heard and determined appropriately.
Yeah.
He didn't know, poor fella. I say a man assisted here by statute of limitation type of point of law. This is correct. You have a limitation. You cannot file the case after the 90 days.
But can you repeat that, Mr. Franklin? Because I was with him and I saw, you could see the wind came out of that young man. And you would have been saying a lot of these things on this show, but sometimes we're not listening. And we need to listen carefully, because now he's at a loss now.
Yes, it's painful, Marcia, when you see a man who worked all those years, and then let me read it for you, right? An employee may make a complaint to the tribunal on the ground that he was unfairly dismissed by his employer. 2, that's subsection 1, 32.1. 32.2 now says the tribunal shall not consider a complaint under subsection 1 unless the complaint is made to the tribunal A, before the end of the period of 3 months, beginning with the effective date of termination. Right? And then it goes on to say, B, within such further period as the tribunal considers reasonable in the case where it is satisfied that it was not reasonably practicable for the complainant to be presented before the end of 3 months. Something like, I was in hospital, I was in a coma, and I saw, that would be an extenuating circumstance. But you cannot say my union and file it on time. And we've had a union who've been to the tribunal and lost 2 cases so far because they did not file the case on time. And the tribunal had no choice but to tell that fellow, yeah, you had a good case, but it should have come earlier.
But can he sue the union for negligence?
Yes, absolutely yes. Because that, but I've only seen where unions have been sued in Guyana. I've not seen anybody in Barbados do it. The people just take it and the chain and go on. They don't bother. But unions are holding themselves out to be professional organizations to represent people. And if you do it improperly or negligently, you can be sued. Right? Because, as Angela is saying again, lack of knowledge of the law is no excuse. So because you don't know, as you think, that's why you join the union. You join the union because the union should know. And if the union does not know or does not file, you're in trouble. This guy, he had got histamine, but he didn't know, and he was there with his mother, and she, too, I can see the hurt in her face too, because after all those years, he left without a cent. That is not fair. And it is unfortunate. And I hope what I'm saying tonight, people pass on. Because I tell people all the time, look, don't come to me first. Go to the labor department. When they come to me, I remember one day, this guy came to see me. He got dismissed, and he was quite nonchalant about it. He said, well, I will get another job. But somebody tell you, look, go and see Caswell, and Caswell advise you don't just take it so. So when he came to me, I asked him basic questions. How long were you employed? Because you have to be employed for a year before these rights click in. I feel it should be much shorter. So if you were working 3 months and they fire you, you're not going to get before the tribunal with that. So I asked them, I said, then when were you dismissed? And when he told me the time, I concluded, I said, well, you just got a few more days before you get to the tribunal. If you don't get to the labor department within a couple of days, you will lose all rights to your case. I made a joke. I said, don't go past go, don't collect $200, go straight to the labor department. He goes to the labor department and he calls me and he says, the the reception study, then got the officers there. I said, well, this foolishness, somebody gotta be there to hear this thing. I called Brass Stats, I called Barbados today and everything. The chief labor officer, in responding, saying that I was not telling the truth. I don't speak to her after that since then. Because that was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but. And I'm not blaming the officers because the officers were in court. Some were out at workplaces because somebody in there, they don't have enough. So if you assign them to do other work outside the office and you're left none inside, that's her feeling, not the officers. So she came out and said it's a lie. Nobody calls me a liar. I don't lie. I don't have to. So I start speaking to her. But so I sent him back the next day. I said to go back the next day and don't leave until.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he encountered the deputy chief, who then did everything else that was supposed to be done, and he got his case filed. Subsequently, we had another case, and the fellow was referred to me by another industrial relations practitioner, but he works for employers. So when he heard, he said, well, look, I know Caswell, but might be able to handle this for you, so go to Caswell, because he don't normally work for employees. And I heard the man, I said, well, look, go to the labor department. You got just a few days. And they told him, nobody in there. I said, you go back and tell them that I tell you to go call my name. They find somebody, you know. They found somebody. They tell me, I'm not going to do what happened because I don't want to embarrass the young lady, but they found somebody, even though there were none. Right? It is unfair to do this to people. But I want to go on to some more unfairness.
But 1 second, somebody has a question here. Although what I'm going to do, guys, if you have questions, just put them up. I'm going to ask it at the end, close to 7:50 when Mr. Franklin is finishing his section. Is there anything in the NCC case that could help the issue of time?
I will go back to the Lynch case because that's on my mind right now, and I haven't read it for so long.
Okay. All right, continue then.
Right? What I want to think now, and this me a lot too. When the national insurance was being transformed into what it is now, because they said transform into a board, it was always a board. What they did was to take the staff from under the central government and make the staff employees of the National Insurance Board. Prior to December last year, they were all employees of government, central government. And they had the rights to get transferred to from national insurance to health to wherever they got jobs that they can do. Now you can only be at national insurance. So that was a thing they had. But some of my members said that they are not going to any board. They want to remain in the public service. And one such member, they had to find some job for her in the service, and they transferred her to the archives. At the archives, she goes in the very first day. And she's now assigned responsibility for some of these temporary contract workers. And as an officer from the National Insurance, who knows the National Insurance regulations, said to them, I can't be part of this. You are not paying national insurance contributions for these people. And it's against the law. She contacted me. I said to her, you are quite right. Public Service Act says that any crime you have to you cannot continue the crime. You should report the crime. Or not, you are committing an offense. She tell them this is wrong, this is illegal. You must pay contributions for these people. You know what they did? In less than a week, she'd have gone. Transfer someplace else. Rather than do the right thing, government, and what I want to say to the Minister of Religion, who is a Minister of Labor, who got on brass tacks with David Ellis and myself and said that the government recognized they made a mistake and they fix it, so they got no more now. Well, I can tell you, they got some at archives, they got some at community development, they got some at blue and green economy, they got some of the sargassum people, the beautification, the NCC, all of them. are not being paid. The contributions are not paid.
Wow.
Contributions are not being
So
paid for these people.
the government is breaking the law.
The government is committing a criminal offense because it is a crime not to pay contributions. And any permanent secretary or head of the department who is refusing to pay contributions is committing an offense. And they're criminals. I can't well frankly say they're criminals. Let them sue me. Let them give me one up my tail. They are breaching the criminal law, but they're not being charged. They get away with it because the government can do anything. But look what happens here, Marcia. They tell these people that they are contract workers and they're not responsible for their national insurance, which is not true. Because the only body in Barbados, when I say body, I mean not person, but body,
right,
who can determine if you can are a self-employed person or contract worker is the National Insurance Board itself, not even a court. And let me read the particular section from the National Insurance Determination of Claims and Questions regulation. I should have it close at hand. I don't keep them too far. National Insurance Determination of Claims and Questions. They are saying to us that these people are contract workers and they must pay their own NIS. However, when they go to NIS to pay, NIS tell them you are not self-employed, so we cannot take your money.
Oh.
So look what happens. You are a young lady, you're working for the government, and they are saying your contract. You can't pay your national insurance contributions because the national insurance is saying we ain't taking it from you because you are not self-employed.
Okay.
And the government is saying you are self-employed, so we ain't paying it for you. So you meet this fella, till you fall in love, get pregnant, you get a little baby, no maternity benefits. You fall into a well.
Oh, I was going to ask you. You say I'm a good student. I was going to ask you if this was the same thing that happened to Rachel, where
Yes.
they were saying she was a contract worker and she wasn't. Wow.
Mind you, they fixed that. They fixed that now, and then I end up paying her NIS unemployment benefits when she went home, because they then acknowledge that it was correct and that they have to fix it. So they fix it, they pay the contributions, but then they hired other people in the same job that she was doing and continue to not to pay the NIS. Marcia, this government is criminal. And you imagine now, you get sick. You don't get sickness benefits, and you don't get paid because you can't work. You get hurt on the job, no injury benefits. God forbid you die, and you got survivors, no survivors benefits. This is what this government is doing to the people of this country, and I'm afraid that.
Wow! Look at what somebody says. Sorry to interrupt you. Look, somebody's saying this here.
There's no new type of worker. Listen to me.
Wow.
That body can make me jump. Let me go and find my general orders. It's close at hand. It ain't too far. But let me read this to you first.
Yes.
The National Insurance Determination of Claims and Questions Regulations 1967. This is that just happened. And this is what paragraph 3 of these regulations say. The following reserved questions arising under or in connection with the Act shall be determined by the board, whose decision shall be final, subject to the provisions of these regulations. So when the National Insurance Board says that you are self-employed, you are self-employed. And that's final. If they say you're employed, so you have to apply to the National Insurance Board to determine whether you are self-employed or not. Right? But the first question, I'm going to read the rest. The first question that the board is to decide whether a person is or was an insured person. Right? And it goes on, but it goes on whether a person is or was employed in employment pursuant to Section 12 of the Act, meaning that you were a normal employee. So the board makes the decision and see as to the class or category of insured person in which a person is to be included. So this is the particular thing. If you want to determine if a person is employed or a self-employed person, then the National Insurance Board has to make that determination. No government department went and said these people are self-employed because there is Employment Rights Act. This first schedule to that act sets out who is considered to be self-employed, or rather, how you determine if a person is self-employed. And I can't read it all now, but it says the first one is if there's an obligation on the part of the employer to give personal and exclusive service. That means that you're working for them and nobody else because you're working 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 8 till 4. So then it says the work is done, this B, the work is done according to the instructions of the employer, and the manner in which the work is carried out is subject to the control and direction of the employer. B, C, the work has continuity, and such continuity creates for the employee an economic dependence on the employer without there being any financial risk to the employee. So if you are working as a maid in a government department, you don't got no risk. You don't lose the money if you got an investment. You're an employee. D, the work is carried out within fixed hours or at a workplace or workplaces specified or agreed by the employer, right? So I'm not going to read all. It says what they're doing now, they're omitting if you pay NIS. No, you got to go and pay. You're entitled to pay. So they can't say that these are new employees. But what happens here? Government comes up with this nonsense about you're self-employed and they have you on contract. Well, contract persons in the public service, contract employees, because you can be a public officer, either a temporary public officer, appointed public officer, or your contract in either category. Because you don't have to have, they can have a time limit on your contract, on your job. They say, well, we give you for a year, we get 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Yeah.
But those people who are employed on contract, if you are working for a year or more on that contract, you get 20% gratuity on your salary because you are not entitled to a pension. Public service and employment is pensionable. So if you are not pensionable, you get 20% gratuity. These people, the government gives them contract 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, going on 3 years. So they're saying they're not entitled to gratuity because they only got 6 months contracts. But the contracts never cease because they don't get a break. They move from the any contract into the next contract without a break. These people are not getting vacation pay, which is also an offense in Barbados. And the government signed with the ILO and a convention that deals with that. But we ignore conventions and stuff when we're ready. We don't care about them things. So this government has found itself on the wrong side of everything when it comes to dealing with workers.
Yeah, well, I'm keeping the questions. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
Right. So my concern is that we had people now who were, and I saw a lot in the chat today with people saying that we didn't have a lot of public servants didn't come out and all kind of thing. Well, the reason for that is that the general orders speak to some of these things. However, these are taking away certain rights that you have, that other people have. But because there's a written law that said that predates the Constitution, they said those laws that take away rights were still constitutional, even though if they were imposed now, they were unconstitutional, Section 26. But they amended Section 26 to say that these laws must now be interpreted in the modern context. That is why they were able to force the courts to strike down buggery. So if they force the courts to strike down buggery, then these laws should be struck down too.
Uh-huh.
Because buggery was one of those laws that was predated the independence constitution. So it says it continues to be valid. Well, these laws predate the constitution, and they continue to be valid, but they can't be valid now. Not in line with the fact that they have said that you must interpret them differently, and the courts, people. I hear the Attorney General saying, "Oh, it was not Parliament; it was the judge who struck it down." The judge struck it down because the law that they changed says that you got to interpret it this way now. So they forced to put the judge in the court to get the blame, but it was not the judge. Not that I'm defending any judges, but I'm saying to you, the judge only followed the law. Because I went and I checked the decision. Because I like to double check. I was actually judge too, you know. Only when I then do my reading and discover, and then went back to the Constitutional Amendment, that it was Dale Marshall who put the judge in that position. So if you put the judge in that position for buggery, you're going to put them in that position. Because I'll give an example. There was a guy called Eloy de Freitas in Antigua. His case went all the way to the Privy Council in England because he had done some demonstrations against the government. And they said he breached the general orders. Well, first, he'd never seen the general orders. And then the court said, but it can't be a blanket thing because for instance, you wouldn't expect the permanent secretary to speak up against the government or demonstrate. But what about the maid? What about the messenger? They don't affect government policy. So where you have a blanket on them. So we got precedent for it. But the government of Barbados wants to keep people in the dark or put you in the protected dark room that they want you to be in. They don't want to educate you. But my concern is that they do everything wrong. I'll give an example.
All right, and we have another 5 minutes in this segment. Right. We're going to give you some more time at the end, okay?
Right. The government says it is against the law to wear these T-shirts to advertise candidates during election time. Right. But the governing party gives them to everybody. Why do you even get one? I got it in my office. I show it, but it says when you pass by. City blast it by. I wanted to burn it somewhere, but I couldn't find a place to burn it where the people would see it. Then they won't charge me for having open fire. So I have it there. But that is against the law. A law that Tom Adams passed. But they do it. So they can break the law because it is against the law to wear it. And it's against the law to hand it out. But they hand them out all the time.
Right.
And nothing happens. Why? Because the government has taken control of the police, the army, heads of departments. They get very few people who are not political and who are not BLP political don't get by to senior position in the public service. Because the Prime Minister makes that determination, even though the Constitution does not say that. It says she must be consulted. But consultation doesn't mean that you make the decision. I can ask, just like how they said the leader opposition should be consulted on who make judges, who appoint judges. And if he says, if the Prime Minister says, well, okay, I consult with you, I still want this man, as have happened, because that happened with Elliot Belgrave. When the government proposed Belgrave to be a judge, Henry Ford then was leader opposition. Henry Ford said no. Well, they said we consulted. We still want Belgrave, and that was the end of the matter. Consultation doesn't mean you make the decision, but the Prime Minister makes every decision. If you look, you can see what happened with the teachers in the beginning of the school year. This last school year, in September, not
Yeah.
where teachers were, principals were appointed
Principals, yes.
and notified the morning when they would get the morning to get ready for school. They hear, you're going around school because the prime minister didn't put her little X
Right. And
on.
she was out of the island.
Yeah, she was. She wasn't. But during one of her visits, she then come in and made that decision because she don't.
Yeah.
As I tell people, she doesn't live here. I don't
Yeah.
very much that Brock could force her to pay taxes because she a resident in Barbados for her 82 days.
Yeah, but someone has a question, Mr. Franklin, and we're going to, Ms. McLean, welcome. We're going to start you at 8 o'clock in 5 minutes, because we started Mr. Franklin a little late. Okay, so Mr. Franklin, someone has a question, and the question was, what all these laws, if they relate to the private sector as well?
No, they can't. If these laws, the private sector is governed by the Employment Rights Act. The public service has the Public Service Act, but the government is breaching.
Service Act.
Yeah, Cap 29. But the government is breaching the general orders, is breaching the Constitution, it is breaching the Public Service Act. It does not behave as it likes. They call these people contract workers. They pay them from professional services, which is in the estimates, and then say they're not paid a salary. No, these people, and then the professional services, these people go ask for a job. You got professional services who clean up sargassum seaweed. But these people are too corrupt.
Well, I'm not laughing at you, but sometimes we laugh on the show because these people, look at what this person wrote.
I laugh too.
They're asking. They say we laugh on the show, but it's the people. They're funny too. No, I'm saying, but thank you. I mean, because it's a serious situation. I tend to feel, reading about the 1937 disturbances, you realize that these are some of the same issues, and we are regressing. Where we're supposed to be moving forward. We're supposed to be a progressive society based on the throne speech that was given. But we're regressing, really, And so, Mr. Franklin, can we come back and
yes, but I'll tell you something before I go. The person that I told you that transferred from the archives because she said, but you are breaking the law and they can't come out, you break it. This is wrong. I was at National Insurance. You are breaching National Insurance regulations, and they cannot be part of that. And they transferred it within a week. You know her very well.
Yes, I know who it is. I know who it is. Well, you have a good student there, and she's listening. But I say to us, we need to reach a place in this country where the public workers in this country can shut down this country. The reason that they have bought off the unions and have them locked off and given them jobs and cars and all these kinds of things is because they don't want the country to shut down. That's what they don't want, and we need to be able to read between the lines, see what's going on, and make a stand. But let me just thank you, Mr. Franklin, for that class, and we're hoping he will be able to come back on again at the end and put in some more thoughts again at the end. But I hope everybody learned something. Some of these things, Mr. Franklin has said them before, a lot of us not taking the notes. All right? Important. Okay, over to the lovely Miss McLean. Good. Oh, she's without her glasses.
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'm without them. I'll be without them for a little while. So you're getting to see the full extent of my very wide eyes.
Good to have you.
And Caswell, could you check? I just sent you a WhatsApp message. Have a look at it.
Yeah, I was reading. I haven't heard about it.
Okay, check that out. So Marcia Caswell,
Yes.
our audience, our loyal audience, good evening. There are just two things, Marcy. You say, I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by my weird looking feature. I'm not used to seeing my I should probably close my eyes and speak. It's just weird. Anyhow, I get used. It just also says that I look a lot like my mother. But anyhow, anybody who knew my mother would probably agree. Anyway, over the last few sessions and so on, we've been talking about our relationship with China projects. I was happy to see Kimar raise a project that I was wondering what had happened to it, a Chinese project. And so as I listened, I could not, let me put it positively. As I say, I like to speak positively. I just was trying to organize the comments, the issues that come up, the concerns within the context of what is considered our foreign policy. And so I thought I would just spend a couple of minutes to speak about that. And there's another thing that I want to touch on that has been concerning me because, thank you very much, refreshments. I'll have a drink to that. So I thought that perhaps I could just share just some of my thoughts on, why are we having projects financed by the Chinese, by the European Union, we used to see a lot of projects one time financed by USAID and, the UK, whatever the case may be. And I just wanted, therefore, to contextualize all of those things within the understanding of what constitutes foreign policy. And as I was thinking about this evening, something came to my mind, and I wrote it down as I was listening to Caswell. And I wrote down, no man is an island, no man stands alone. Similarly, I would say no island, especially a small island like Barbados, stands alone in this global community. So while we're an island, we are part of a global family. And as we seek to function as an independent state, we do not do that independent of other entities because we, as I say, we're part of that global community. And as such, we engage in relationships, foreign relations, as you would hear talked about, at two broad levels. You have what you call the bilateral level. So that's a relationship country to country. So we have, as Barbados, we have bilateral relations with China, because we were talking about China. We have bilateral relations with Russia, with India, with South Africa, with Ghana, with Rwanda. We have bilateral relations with, even within the frame of CARICOM. We have bilateral relations. So, for example, we have an ambassador to CARICOM, but we also have that person might be accredited to one of the countries. So your ambassador to CARICOM, and then you hear your ambassador to let's say Guyana or Dominica or whatever the case may be. So we have those relationships, bilateral relationships. And then, of course, within that broad family of nations, as Angela has indicated, we also engage in multilateral relations within the context of a range of international entities, such as the United Nations, which really brings together, the global family. And we have, we are part of the World Bank, we are part of the World Trade Organization, etc. But at the end of the day, notwithstanding the fact that we are small, and we understand that power at size and financial clout and so on, those things make countries. So they're I suppose, what you will call variations. I was trying to find the diplomatic word to use, but it will come back to me. In terms of size, I mean, we are small, and therefore engaging a country like China, one could argue, how do you do that? But I take us back to something that was said by our first Prime Minister, the Right Excellent Errol Barrow, who is now a national hero. And a lot of us, and I recommend that you go, for those people who are interested, to go and find his first address as Prime Minister of Independent Barbados in 1966 to United Nations. And we recall that phrase, friends of all and satellites of none. Yeah. And that really essentially is part of what he has identified as an independent even though small country, that our foreign relations are supposed to be conducted on the basis of what we call an independent and active foreign policy. So in essence, what he's saying, we are friends of all of your satellites and none, is that we engage the world, not as satellites or extensions or mouthpieces for anybody, but we engage with you as a sovereign nation, clearly thinking of what is in the interest of Barbados, and therefore what we are seeking to do. And in fact, if I could just read something which would have been pulled from that speech, and yes. I look for it and share it. I didn't have enough time to pull it up, but I'll find it and share it. And he was basically saying that, look, our foreign policy is really, at the end of the day, an extension, or it should be an extension of our domestic goals and objectives. So, for example, when we engage with the Chinese, and I will talk about their kind of purpose and objectives, but in our case, we are saying we have certain national goals and objectives of development.
Right.
And therefore, when we negotiate with a country who says, look, we have had relations with you since 1970 something, and part of what we want to do is we have a commitment to help develop the world. Now, let me say it very quickly that while they may say that to you, understand that another country is not being altruistic. Their concern is not making Barbados happy or doing right by Barbados only. They have their own domestic and international objectives as well. So, for example, you would have heard about the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative.
Correct.
And that initiative is really to more or less redevelop or bring back to life something that existed a long time ago. Mm-hmm. They were major traders, and their approach to achieving a dominant position in the world is not to finance military efforts. For example, if you look at the support of the US for the Israelis for a long time, the support of the US in other jurisdictions where they provide military support, the Chinese say no. Our focus is on commerce. Why? Mm-hmm. Because they, as a massive country, depends very heavily on exports. Mm-hmm. So if they want to put in infrastructure, they have created a whole set of money for infrastructure. They are doing that. Not because Barbados, well, in some cases, we need a port if we had to get one, or they build highways in Jamaica to connect towns and so on. Mm-hmm. They recognize also that by doing that, if that is what the country wants and agrees to, they are creating the infrastructure for trade. So in other words, you get your roads, your ports, etc., for your benefit, but their benefit is we are a massive trading nation. Mm-hmm. And in order to facilitate the export of our goods, we are going to make sure that the countries with whom we trade have those facilities. So, for example, when we look at the project, and I look at this because I happen to have been the person who negotiated the initiatives that would have received grant funding that I found sitting in available to Barbados when I became foreign minister. And part of that, the whole notion of domestic policy was that for us as a country, agriculture and agricultural education was important. Therefore, when the university's principal of the time lobbied for support for the Jukes project, it made sense because here we had access to grant funding, okay? And so that was part of it. And then you had some excellent programs available at the SJPP and BCC. And a weakness of that was hands-on training in an extended way. And so that was part of it. So what we have to understand is that as we seek to engage independently, we have to be careful that what we do ultimately is in our best interest, while the other parties to that foreign relationship or the other party in our foreign policy execution, they're looking after their interests as well. So the key point to understand is that when we do this, we are saying to ourselves and to the world, we will engage these entities on the basis of what we consider is best for Barbados. The other party is looking to engage in what is best for them. And sometimes the two things don't gel. So you then have to negotiate. And I'll give you an example of that. recently, well, when I was foreign minister, as I said, one of the major initiatives that the Chinese have put in place is the financing, the provision of loan financing for infrastructural development. Infrastructural development usually are significantly large loans. Now, everybody knows that Barbados was back then and is now highly indebted. And what we would have said to the government was, look, what we want to do, if you really want to help Barbados, let us explore how you can best help us on our terms. And so, for example, instead of doing what we saw now, borrowing almost $400 million in one shot to build roads, and I would say this, and I'm not sure how we are increasing our foreign exchange earnings to finance the repayment of those loans. The proposal that we put, and I would have gotten other members of CARICOM to sit with the Chinese to look at this, because we're all in similar situations, and say, if you are really concerned about us, let us look at our debt situation. We have debt that incurs different levels of interest rates. So if you want to give us some money at concessional rates, which you want to offer, to take out the high interest debt, okay? And so that when you start to repay the lower interest, if they had done that, you actually are saving sums of money because you're paying less interest. And those sums of money would then be allocated to a dedicated infrastructure fund. So what you were seeing is that there was a proposal which says, help us, but help us in a two-step-wise way that would benefit Barbados and the islands of the Caribbean more than if we go and borrow a lump sum of money and add it to our debt, which is going to make our debt burden even worse. So I'm using those to illustrate that when we start to talk about relationships with countries, nobody forces us to take a particular position on issues or to accept. And I will give you an example. I remember, as people say, nothing for nothing and very little for something. I remember when countries, let me put this way, when countries negotiate, whether they're negotiating within the framework of a multilateral entity and arrangement like the United Nations or the World Bank or whatever, there is always, horse trading sounds kind of crude, but there's some negotiating and compromising or whatever. And there's certain expectations. Now, when the government of China or the US gives us grant funding or even concessional loans or whatever, or does some other kind of bilateral initiative, as I said before, they're not doing it for their own good. And they will say to you, okay, we are partners, and there's an issue coming up, let's say at the United Nations, and we want your support. Now, the question is their request for support consistent with the position that you would normally hold, right? And if no, you need to be able to stand up and say, no, we can't support that. And I remember being pressured by an ambassador of a country in a situation like that to support a particular position. And the person kept calling, and I said, Barbados's position is not consistent with yours. We cannot support that. We appreciate the relationship we've had for X number of years, and we expect we will continue that. But understand that as small as we are, we have a set of positions we hold sacred. And the person, the diplomat kept calling me. And one day I was most undiplomatic, and I said to the diplomat, you are harassing me. Because the point, and it was, one of my officers smiled and said, that minister, that is not very diplomatic. But I knew that was what was happening. And I thought that I had to make that person understand that as much as we appreciate our relationship, Barbados does not bend to any and everything. And that was the position that we took. So I thought that I would spend some time illustrating that to get people to understand that when we see foreign operations or foreign countries engaging in activities with us, it is important to appreciate that they should be, and I can speak to what I know when I was around involved in that kind of activity, that you sit down and negotiate. And, at times you have also to reject certain kinds of things or seek modification in order to ensure that we are not to put it very bluntly, selling our souls.
Selling our souls, yeah. You know, yeah. So what I'm understanding, because I mean, you know, we're so blessed to have people like yourself, former senators. You had President Franklin, you former senator, minister of foreign affairs, as well, for this education tonight. Because what I'm understanding is that there are these different types of relationships that we, as a country, that we need to have. You know, we're part of the world, and so we have relationships with countries, and the real issue is the negotiation. You know, how we negotiate. We need things from each other, and so we have to negotiate. And I think what we're seeing, the outworking of that, the fruit of that, people are looking at some of these things, the decisions that are made, and the fruit of these negotiations, and wondering if is this really in the best interest of Barbados. I think that's where we're at, Ms. McLean.
Precisely, and I think that is exactly how you look at it. And you know, so when we look, I mean, I don't have the time to go through, but I'm listening to a number of initiatives, and I'm asking myself, what is in it for Barbados? Yes. Not what is in it for a group of business people or whatever, but ultimately, how do we all benefit in the long term? You know, and it is important that we get answers to questions. I remember, I mean, you know, people around the world, countries, indicate that our airport and seaport are very, very important to a country's security, to our country's economy, to, you know, and important symbols of that society. Now, when you hear, and I mean, there's I don't suppose there's anything wrong in attracting investments and so on, but when you hear of, I think there's an arrangement of $300 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody, Caswell, Marcia, anybody, in relation to Grantley Adams International Airport. And I think it was some 30-year contract. I did a calculation, and it came to, like, was it 3 million, 30 million, some figure, which wasn't significant, unless you can tell me what else are we getting beyond the particular whatever we call contractual sum between the government and the foreign entity. So at the end of the day, I think it is incumbent on us, when questions are asked by citizens, that we get answers, that people, rather than people try to suggest that you're trying to be difficult or anti-government or opposing for opposing's sake. Educate the public about what you're doing, why you are doing it, how it is going to benefit us, and as I said, in relation to foreign relations, how that furthers our domestic policies and programs. And that is very important. And I think hopefully in looking at that, because I'm conscious at the time, Marcia, that we, if people have questions, you can come back. But while we're looking at,
can I just say one thing before we move off, and just to understate what you underscore, what you just said about negotiations. I remember traveling to Washington with our the Barra movie, and I had the privilege of staying in one of the staying with the somebody in foreign affairs of Barbados. You know, when we travel, then you know, the ambassador would put us up, etc., etc. And we were in one of those homes, and one of the officers that work under you in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I was asking them about Sam Lords, because I live, you know, we just walk in distance, and I was saying, why are you all doing this thing with the Chinese and what's going on, you know, all of this. And she explained a lot to me, a lot of what you're saying tonight. And she said to me, Marcia, it's all about negotiation. And she was saying at that time, I don't know what happened since, but she told me that Barbados was being very, very, very strict in sticking to what it is that Barbados wants, you know. And she talked about the fact that she was very, very passionate about it, that she was scrutinizing everything, for Barbados. And this was so important, you know, that Barbados comes out of this good, that all is intact for Barbados. You know, while we're getting the help, we did not sell our soul then, and so on. And she was very, very passionate about it. So the challenge we have, I think, is because we would see like the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party here, meeting with the Barbados Labour Party. We see a lot of you know, we see all of these developments and these references to China, and we see, you know, and by the way, they're wonderful people. You know, when I studied, I used to teach them English as a second language. I used to be their English teacher at York College when I was going to York College in New York. So Chinese people are wonderful people. The challenge we have is it's what we're seeing in the society, and not sure what is happening in terms of these policies and how they're negotiating and how Barbados is coming out of it. You know, I think I just wanted to say that.
Let me say that in relation to China and Barbados, one of the things, and this is a weakness that we English speakers have. I remember going to Beijing, and I've been to China at least 3 or 4 times on work-related matters. And I remember watching, there were some little children. We were at a museum somewhere I think this was in Shanghai. And there were these little children speaking English. And there were so I thought they were Canadians or whatever. But then we were told that all the children were being taught English. So understand that China, part of their foreign policy and their building relationships was that they decided, look, 2 things. 1, we have to learn to speak English. And 2, we have to facilitate others learning Chinese, learning Mandarin. So, for example, the Confucius Institute is an initiative that the Chinese use. You call it soft power in terms of building diplomatic relations. So they have gone around the world and set up institutes. And what they do is that they train children. I mean, for example, my understanding is that at the Confucius Institute, children at Ellerslie were given the opportunity to learn Chinese. National individuals went. My son did a semester of Mandarin and was actually learning to write to write. But when he wanted to do a second course, that was not big enough. Let me ask Nigel, when you said, do you think countries engage in diplomatic fraud? I don't know what you mean by diplomatic fraud. What I can tell you is countries engage in diplomatic activity that is intended to serve their purpose. Now, I wouldn't want to say it's fraud. It may be activity that does not sit well. And I'm being diplomatic. I wasn't a minister of foreign affairs for 10 years to not learn something about. And I'm serious. At the end of the day, I'll give you an example. Let's move away from the Chinese now. I remember when I was foreign minister, there was an expose. Let me put it. There was an American diplomat in Barbados. At the time when you had this, it was the WikiLeaks matter, and information was shared about, because diplomats are in the business of intelligence gathering. Yes, the CCP has met with the DLP, and I was going to make that point, that the politics of China is that it is still operated, in the political system. The Communist Party is still, I would say, supreme. And I will tell you this, that the Chinese have extended to journalists, to politicians, and so on forever. I would say from the time that we've had relations. I am sure that almost every prime minister, I can't speak for the first prime minister, Errol Barrow, but I can tell you that almost every prime minister would have visited China. I was in China with 2 of our prime ministers, Prime Minister Thompson and Prime Minister Stewart. The fact that you meet and you engage and you visit, based on what I said before, does not mean that you are brainwashed. or that there's even an attempt to brainwash you.
But Ms. McLean, the question though is, I think there's a difference where as a government.
I was just answering this question. Have we met? Okay. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying, I think where the person is hitting at is it the government, the DLP government, or that met with the CCP or the party?
Okay, let me draw a distinction. Things happen at two levels.
Yes.
You would notice, for example, and let me bring it to the Caribbean. At the annual conference of either of our political parties, and Caswell was a member of one party, I was a member of another. I am a member of the other one. You would see that at our annual conference, for example, in the last couple of years, we have had the soon to have become, because he wasn't prime minister yet, but the current prime minister of Grenada addressed an annual conference of the Democratic Labour Party when he, just before the election that he won. The Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Prime Minister Pierre, has addressed the party. I have seen, I believe it would be the former Prime Minister of St. Lucia address the Barbados Labour Party. So the reality is that there are relationships party to party, but then there are relationships government to government. Now, what happens between party and party is one level. What happens at government to government? When we sit down to negotiate, and this is one of the things that I was part of my orientation. As a minister, you don't sit alone in your formal capacity with a diplomat. When you saw me meet with an ambassador, a high commissioner, a visiting minister, a minister of state, or some other envoy from a country, it would have been me and officials from the ministry. And the way the ministry is structured, you have CARICOM affairs, you have Western Hemisphere, blah, 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 whatever. And so officials officers, public officers who are assigned to particular desk, as we call it, as they were called then, would sit and meet with you. But before that as well, they are supposed to prepare. And I said, and this is what happened, and I presume it happens now. And if it doesn't, the minister should insist on it. They're supposed to prepare a brief on the country, on the issues that you expect that you negotiate. So in other words, while I was in the fortunate position when I went to the ministry of having studied at the master's level several years before international relations, I did not rely on my knowledge or even as a lecturer of management or my knowledge of any discipline. I understood issues, and I may be able to challenge some of what I saw or question it or supplement it. But whenever I met on issues or spoke on issues, they were on the basis of briefs and discussions with officers in the ministry. Because at the end of the day, the idea is that your public officer are supposed to be the persons with the technical competence. Interestingly enough, and I probably shared this one time, I remember sitting in a meeting and listening to a presentation. And when the officer was finished and I started to speak, you hear somebody's mouth drop open, the eyes open, and the person's mouth fell open. Because I believe, from what I read, the body language, the person was simply saying, well, I know she know now about that, but it so happened that I didn't come to the public, to public office green. I came with several years of experience in related areas. So, and that was to my advantage for several reasons, So that is it. So maybe I should quickly now raise the other issue, Marcia, because I think I'll come back to this. In recent times, from talking to university students, one student in particular who I've been paying special attention to his journey through university and so on, and talking to some of our teenagers, observing in relation to the university students, my concern is that the acquisition of knowledge seems to be less important for some students than the passing of an exam. But that's another story for another time. But the bigger issue for me is that more and more, as I interface with individuals, as I interface with teachers and young people, I think that we were going to have to soon relegate it to mythology, the notion that we have a 99% literacy rate. I think that there's a lot, or there are many young people who are struggling with the ability to read. I'm not even talking about comprehending what they read, no, just being able to read, see words and recognize and to read, and they're struggling with numeracy. And it worries me because, and I've come across some adults in recent times, and it hurts my heart because when I look at these people, they're almost, to me, I equate the inability to read and so on to being shut out of a fundamental part of your existence. And so what I want to put on the table, Marcia, because I think that, I am conscious of the time, that how can we, in this family of the Marcia Week show, undertake at the community level to try to find some approaches to discreetly assist, particularly teenagers and adults, in remedying this problem, because it is a sensitive area. Some people, for somebody to come and say to you, I can't read, as your people in Barbados, I can't dance, meaning you can't read and write, as you say, you can't do basic arithmetic and whatever. How do we help those people? It's like being in prison. That's the analogy, perhaps. We need to free persons like that from the prison of inability to read and do basic arithmetic and so on. Because I don't understand how life is hard. It has to be hard for such individuals. My question is, how do they get through the school system? But I'm going to explore it some more. I've been talking. There's a gentleman who has been spending some time in Barbados who is from the Eastern Caribbean, who has developed over the years some techniques using IT, so to speak, and the ministers of St. Philip and Education have already have this very program in place. But please, Easy D,
yeah, we would like
give
to
me
know
the information, because I have a list of people, not from St. Philip, but from St. Michael and St. James and other places, who need help. Because, as I said, the problem with this, people are not going to go out there and put up their hand easily and say, I cannot read. The incidence that I am seeing is too high. And so if there's a program in place, you say, because the way you say it is as though what I'm saying don't bother about that. There's something happening. As you heard me say, sir, or ma'am, I don't know if Easy D is man or woman, sir or ma'am, I am asking us, and I ask you, Easy D, to get involved, because at the end of the day, my concern is that when I engage people or when I hear of cases like this, it bothers me, because I can imagine what it is not to be able to read. I never had the problem, but I can tell you I've engaged with people, and the limitations that it imposes on an individual is hard. So please share, and please, I would, Marcia, take that person's name.
Yes,
if they can contact you and sign up,
I'm going to ask Easy D. Let me just ask Easy D.
Ask him or her to sign up.
Yeah, can you send me a message, 236-7000, 236-7000? That's the number, because genuinely, I really, because this is an issue that really, really matters to me personally. And it's something, Miss McLean, and I'm hoping Mr. Franklin can jump in this at some point. We just have a discussion about it, Miss McLean, is that I think of, just say, my community here. in where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody talking about St. Philip and the ministers and stuff. I don't see any program here. In fact, you don't even feel their presence. And I'm saying, we've been talking a lot about these different parties, etc., etc. There are lots of about 3 parties that are political parties that I guess they're going to vie for office. I'm saying these are things, these are programs, Miss McLean, that could happen at that level. If you are a party and you're in waiting, then you don't need, these are some of these things don't cost money.
Yeah.
You understand where I'm getting at? But we're not going to talk about political parties today.
Right, let me make a suggestion, Marcia, before Caswell jumps in. And this is for Easy D, because anyway, I don't want to comment beyond what I commented to him or her. One of the proposals that I will put at the next meeting of the executive of the Alumni Association of the University of West Indies Barbados chapter, of which I am now president, is that we work with communities to do this. They ain't got nothing to do with Easy D with D or because I know you got a problem when it comes to me. But anyhow, so in essence, what I am saying is that I would, and as I was talking about Marcy, I am just thinking it through, because the University of the West Indies Cayfield campus now requires students to give back. And one of the initiatives that I will propose to the principal and the deputy principal via the Alumni Association is the mobilizing of students to work with community groups to assist students. So you can make a note with that as you write it down.
I don't even
remind me.
I'm going to remind you. Can I tell you this? This is a very important issue for me. I have a lot of important issues, but this particular one, I see where all of us can get involved. I know I talked about the or MPs and so on, but we're all of us. Those of us who can read, we can write, we have degrees, we have masters, we have PhDs, we have all of these things. We can get involved and help the community. These same students, Miss McLean, that you're talking about, are university students. I love them. They work with me at my school. And they have helped me to help a lot of these young people who have, fallen through the cracks.
Yeah.
Yes, they leave school and they probably just have 1 CXC or 2 CXCs, and they come to us. And the only reason that we've been so successful is through the people at the students at the university. They're helping me with common entrance. I left the march. And I could call them and say, start the common entrance, children, before I get there. Mark these papers for me. Help me with this principles of business class. Do this. What I'm saying is that the resources are there. We have our students at the university. It's all a matter, Caswell, is how we manage those resources. And if we have the heart to truly help people, I believe it is something that can be done so easily and with such kindness. Because what we do with those, the students who can't read, I would often say to them, we try to do one-on-one with them because they get embarrassed. When you're 15 and 16 and you can't read, it's very embarrassing. As you said, Miss McLean, it's very sensitive. We've seen young men who've been on the blocks and all of that leave us with 4 CXCs, students drop out of Queen's College, drop out of Ellerslie. And it happened with other young people, their peers helping them, And I was saying to you something earlier today that I learned this whole thing about helping people who cannot read through Michael Manley. Michael Manley in Jamaica. He had a program called the Jamal program. I don't know if Mr. Franklin ever heard about that yet. And I don't remember what the Jamal really mean, but I know it's Jamaica. Oh, Jamaica Adult Literacy Program. And my mother used to teach adult women, the farmers. I remember seeing the lady, her head tie up, old woman, and she is learning the alphabet. And that's one thing that Michael Manley said that he wanted to do to make sure that everybody in Jamaica could read. And I think that instead of us here, we're boasting about this 90-something% literacy rate. It's not true. It no longer exists. We need to be real about it, and we don't need to even depend on the government really to get this done. This is something that we can do together as a people. But let me hear Mr. Franklin's thought on this whole area.
I got involved in politics through illiteracy. People might laugh. I used, as a little boy, how many years old, going to Combermere, some old people will get letters. And they said it was bright. I don't know what made them think so, but they would call me and ask me to read the letters for them. And by going to their homes, I discovered that they were eating very poorly.
Yeah.
Because when the pension ran out, they usually cook biscuits with onion and tomato. I like the tomato, onion, thyme, and they call salt biscuits. But it was a meal. It kept them to the next pension check, because when you had to pay the water bill and the light bill, but some didn't have lights. But when you pay the water bill, they had not left. So I heard that Tom Mother used to be meeting in the community center every month. So I went there, we led him to get him involved in this thing. And he did then get some of those people paid through the welfare department and whatever else. But that's why I got involved through literacy. If those people could have read and write, they would have suffered. But I tell you, I've taught adults, and I find that adults who went to school, but for some other reason, either they got left back because they were either dyslexic and people didn't recognize it, or they were class clowns and they played the fool, and teachers went and left them. When they go into the world and they realize what they're missing, they're the most motivated people to teach. You can teach them, and they are willing to learn, and you can realize that some of them were just playing the fool. They're bright. Some of them are bright. They just didn't pay any attention, and they blame a lot of parents too, because when I was a little boy growing up, my father used to, for the evening when he got a chance, used to take my books and he would go through and he would be turning my books and he watching to see what marks I got. I remember one night he was going through my books and my mother said, "But you don't know nothing inside there, you know." And my father said, "I might know the Latin. Well, keep on turning, or I know the French, or I know the Spanish, but I know what a red hook means. You mean it pass. And I know what 4 out of 10 means. And I know what 6 out of 10 means. And you better not get 4." You know, that motivated me to get 60%. Because my father wasn't satisfied with 50. You know, but I know, because I had to pass, because it had repercussions. You know, because he invested his money for me. No, because in those days, even though I went to Combermere and it was free at that level, they still had to get to school, they had to get lunch money, they had to get books. So if you play the fool, then this thing can happen, you know. But, parents don't do that now.
Caswell, as you were talking about your father, I remember one of the officers in the ministry telling us that when he was a schoolboy, I think just when he had done, well, I think he might have been, well, let me call it the common entrance. But when he passed, his father took him and show him on the cell. He had a fork and a hoe, and he tell him, "Listen to me, if you don't learn, then for you over at the plantation." You know, but I just want, I think it was Ed, somebody put up a comment about, I don't know what the BLP meeting was about or anything, I don't know, but this comes to me because recently I had to interface with a couple of people on an ongoing basis, and I realized after a while that I would type messages, WhatsApp messages, but every time I typed, I didn't get a response. And then I realized that I would record a message and I would get a reply. And I learned subsequently that the individual with whom I was communicating, an adult, cannot read. Now, I don't know. And it is, for me, I mean, it's a sensitive issue, which I will approach, because my whole approach to life is, if I'm not part of the solution, I'm part of the problem. And
Right.
you know, there was sufficient evidence for me, and in fact, I discussed it with Marcia in terms of raising it here, and what we can possibly do and so on. Because when I think of people, I had a nephew who was dyslexic, and then when it was picked up, it was dealt with, and he got first class honors in maths and computer science, because when he was a boy, he was a whiz at math, and these kind of things. He explained maths in a way that I don't even understand up to now. But at the end of the day, if his parents hadn't diagnosed that, had his situation diagnosed, and think of people in my generation and before me, who did not have this experience, and I've talked to people, and you've seen it. Somebody comes and they're embarrassed about signing. In fact, I would share this with you quickly, Marcia. I have a niece who works in a set of young men. She was their supervisor very early. In fact, they were trying to intimidate her. I think they started off by getting her casual, my niece, the one you met.
Yeah.
They intimidated her by getting her some flat tires. But then quickly she realized that these young men had to write reports. And she called me one day concerned, "Auntie Maxine, what should I do?" I said, "Look," and somebody said here, "Do not embarrass the person. Just call them quietly and say to them, 'Come, let me help you prepare the report.'" And so you're not embarrassing them, or you're not outing them they can't read or they can't write properly. And I think, and that created a very different dynamic in terms of her relationship. Because as I said to her, we need to be empathetic about these things. So this is an ongoing issue for me, because a lot of times people would call and say, "How do I deal with this?" How, and as somebody said, there's one of those sensitive issues that you don't want to, thanks, Mr. King. You don't want to embarrass people, and people don't want, it is such a quote unquote secret that the person has been carrying for a while, so I'm glad that we are getting some traction on this.
Yes. Manase is saying that he had raised this issue of adult literacy, and a teacher consented to be involved in the area. This is the kind of positivity that we're looking for. And yes, I had raised the whole thing about MPs and political parties, but this is something that can be done, outside of that,
within the community,
as a community level, really and truly, and it is doable. Angela Knight says it's doable because we have the skill.
Marcia,
I remember, yes.
And I'm gonna tell you now, as we go through Caswell, I will enlist Caswell within the credit union movement. Credit unions allocate some, what they call it now, common good funds, Caswell.
Mm-hmm.
They set aside money, and I think that if we go around and ask some of the larger credit unions, or the more prosperous ones, even though they may not be the largest, to contribute to an exercise in communities, whether it's getting materials or facilities or whatever, where they can locate these sessions or whatever, materials for the students or whatever. I think that I certainly can wring the arms of a couple of credit unions, I believe, and I'll enlist the help of my cooperative brother Caswell.
Yeah, I think it's very doable. I'll tell you, one of the things that is causing us, Angela talks about paying it forward. I'm a believer in that. And guys, I approached some retired persons close to where I live. They go to the beach in the mornings. And when I go there, we talk about the show, we talk about, different things. But then I asked them if I was asking around if any of them would want to help in a project like this. Because I told you, when I come on here, what you see is what you get. This was months ago. I went and was asking the people at the beach. And you know what? One lady, she said, I am so busy. I'm so busy. And I said, I thought you were retired. I joked about it, She said, no, but I have my clubs. I go to my knitting. I go to this tea party, and I've got this to do, and I've got that to do. And I'm listening to her. I saw her even the other day, Dave and I, we were walking and we saw her again. And she said, you know, did you ever get that thing off the ground? I said, no, because I never got enough of you guys to help, you know. And she said, I'm busy with, and she repeated the same things again that she's doing. You know, I'm learning to sew a dress. I'm learning to, and those things are good. I just listened to her and I said, well, you know, if that in my mind, I said, well, if that's your priority, that's your priority. And I brought that up because there are lots of people who will say that they don't have the time to help. You know, they don't have the time to help. And we will skip over and we like to, you know, find all the fault with everything. We criticize everybody. We say they're not doing this. What is the Ministry of Education doing? You know, for some of these things, we need to say, what am I doing? And how can I help? You know, so Manny said, we'll definitely be reaching you. Somebody sent me a message on my phone, and I can't call her name, but she says, count me in. She says, count me in. Mr. Franklin, I sent you also some messages that people have taken pictures of questions. She says she's a remediation teacher. Did I read that right? Remediation teacher. And that she wants to be included in the adult literacy program. I'm going to pass them on to you, Miss McLean, as well, and see what we can do. I think Angela might be interested. Smiling Butterfly, you said you reached out to me with your son and you didn't get a response. So please call me 236-7000. 236-7000. This is this person here, Smiling Butterfly. Right? And let me see where we dropped the ball with your son. I don't know. I don't remember speaking with you. I don't know who you are. But you know, if you said you reached out to us, just take the number again, please, and message me. And I promise you, by tomorrow, I will give you a call about your son and to see if there's a way we can help you. And please forgive me and forgive our association or business if we didn't reach out to you. I don't recall. All right.
Marcia, right now there's a young lady. She was a teacher. She's retired. And she gets together with, she formed a kind of foundation or charity or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but it is actually. And she uses my office to teach young entrepreneurs how to manage their business, because people have ideas and they have some good skills, but they don't know how to market those skills. And ever so often, she reached out to me and asked if she could use my office, you know, for a small fee. I waive the fee. And so she has, on weekends, sometimes she has, not every weekend, she brings these young people in. And I work on Saturdays sometimes, and I can hear them out there, you know, and I want to sit down and listen sometimes because I've been learning something myself, you know. So I can extend that same facility to other people.
Yes.
If they are willing, because, you know, some of this heart wrenching. I remember as an immigration officer, people come to me and the form is filled out, and I said, well, you know, you got to fill out the form. You go back there. Man said to me, I didn't fill out the form. I born a bad business, and nobody can stop me from coming in here. I said, well, that is true, but if you do not comply with the instruction immigration officer, I'm going to ask that policeman to take you into custody. And then he breaks down. And he gives me the form. I realize that the passport is signed with an X. I said, well, boy, you had to make all that noise. You could have come and talked to me, you know. I fill out the form for him, and then I hand it to him, and he put his X on it, and he goes along. But he would draw attention, because sometimes they're embarrassed, and these defense mechanisms, I've seen it. I don't like it. It hurts, you know, because some of these people are my age and younger.
Yes.
And the part is, and I'm talking about, when I'm talking younger, I'm talking about way younger, my children's age and thing. So there's no program for them that I know of nationally, but there's no harm in be helping.
Yes. Marcia, this question here is Harris.
Yes.
My suggestion there is, in if you're talking community, members of the community would know some of these young men who may very well be willing to work with some of their friends, you know, or people. I mean, or they may be elderly, older persons who, because I noticed a lady mentioned her husband, and my question is whether, you know, she mentioned a problem with his hearing, which meant he probably wasn't hearing what was going on in the classroom. But whether he himself would still want to attempt to do this, because I think, you know, it is not, once a person is here and alive, I don't think it's too late. So all of these, what I propose to do is to, once we get some names, is to have some discussions as to some approaches to doing this, and locations and whatever.
Yes.
And work through a program, you know, my approach to life. So if we say
Yeah.
we want to do something, we're going to get it done.
We're going to get it done. And I tell you, I mean, and I know that people will throw their already. I know Mr. Franklin has this thing at his location, and I know in the summer our area will be open as well at our school in terms of locations, and there might be others that will say, listen, like Mr. Franklin, let's open up, you know, a part of our business, and we can get this done. It was solved. Trust me, I tell you. I telling you my story all the time. It's education and God that got me out of the ghetto community, and I'm not ashamed of it. I tell you this, I'm not ashamed of it. We all came out of there. One come out as a doctor, one an engineer, one you know, myself. I do what I do, you know,
Lots of things.
and you know, but we all that's where we grew up. That's where we grew up, and it's education. And for me, it's sad when I see these bright children that would have left school and they didn't get any subjects, and then people, you know, they feel like they're zero, right? And those are the people that come and they put a gun at you and stick you up and take what you have.
Now that you mentioned gun, I can relate that to people who think that illiterate and can't read and write. Some of these people are very talented. You remember in Buckley factory, you might not remember, but in Buckley factory, fellas that were illiterate and things used to make guns in the factory, you know, that used to shoot.
Wow.
Yes, you say here, you say George men, say Victoria men.
You know, so when you talk, these people are not dumb, they just didn't have the right direction. Because I don't know how to make a gun, you know, I wouldn't know how to start. But those fellas got made guns that actually kill people. So you have a lot of talent that you can work with. And if you can learn how to do that, you can learn how to read and write. You can learn how to, you know. So it is just to channel the people in the right direction.
Yeah, very, 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 very talented and need a lot of encouragement. There's a young man, and he, you know, he's doing accounting and English and POB, right? It's CXCs. And I remember I was turn my back to put something on the board, and I just felt in my heart to say to him, "You're gonna do well on your exams." No, the truth is that he wasn't catching the concepts very well, but I just felt like saying that to him. And he said, huh, you must be the only one who thinks so. Right? And with that, of course, I stopped what I was doing and to have the conversation with him and to find out what's going on with him, you know, and realize that he's not having the congregation, the encouragement in his community, where he's, you know, where in you know, whether the home, I'm not sure exactly what he didn't say, and I didn't pry, you know. But what I'm saying is that, you know, Mr. Franklin, a lot of these young men, these are the young men that's out there, and we have something we could impart to them and change their lives. That my life was changed through education.
But sometimes it's just a positive role model, you know. When I first got to school, I had two awful teachers teaching geography. I hated geography. I don't have anything to do with it. And then when I got promoted, but I passed nonetheless, but it was rough because they didn't know what they were doing. And when I got promoted, I think it was in third form, we got Mrs. Pyle, who taught geography. She was so nice and so good and thing. I felt badly not passing geography because she used to always boast about how much passes she got and then I don't want her to not get a pass from me. So that's why I passed geography, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because the motivation, I just, you know, because she was nice, you know, she was really good, nice lady. You know, she's passed now. And I think I told her that before she passed, so I feel happy. But the only reason I passed geography is because I don't want you to feel bad, you know.
I want to comment here on what Bali said just now about I don't like the word dunces. The reality is that you have people who learn at different phases, stages, and paces. People learn at a different pace. So a person might be here in this system, and you know, so when you say fly on the world stage, it depends on where they go. I think our concern really and truly is saying, look, we want to make sure that the people have the basic skills, because I mean, it's people flourish on the different systems, people flourish at different times, you know. When I tell people that I was not one of the brightest, I mean, I went to what people would say one of the top secondary schools, but for me, academics was, I mean, I like certain subjects at school and I studied them, and the rest I just didn't really like school that much. You understand?
Yeah.
But the point is, you develop different interests. I mean, I want to move away from that though to say something very quickly. I mentioned talking to a university student, and one of the things that I hear young people saying often, I don't like to read. But in delving into that, you know, I shared with the young man that when my son was small, but he grew up around parents who, well, reading was my thing, and his father read a lot. On evening before he could go out and play with children, he had to read a certain number of pages. If you know, if he wasn't with me, he wasn't, you know, he had to do that to go and play. But my son developed an interest in reading. I remember when he was in class 4 at St. Stephen's, one of my colleagues at work, she gave him one of those Harry Potter books, almost 700 or something pages. And that young man sat down, that boy read it in 4 days. And I was like, really? And then he said to me, oh, I like this storyline. Because, you know, at that time, people were saying that these Harry Potter books were doing something evil to children. But the woman probably was an excellent storyteller. But the point I'm making, when he went to secondary school, he used to go to the library, came home all excited in class in Form 1, say, Mommy, the librarian said to me, I'm one of her best customers. But, you know, within a year, it was infradig probably to read. The guys would be like, you know, why you read? Why you always in the library? So after a while that dropped up, but he had a love for reading. But what this young man said to me about not liking to read was that in his neighborhood, for a youngster, especially a boy, to sit inside and read books, kind of like, what's wrong with you? You know, so there's that.
Yeah, they're gonna say he's gay.
And peer pressure. Mm-hmm. You know,
Maxine, just now you said you don't like the word dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people are going to be ashamed because some people got elected and now some of them are in cabinet. So
I know he was
Caswell. Marcia, moving along.
So no. On a serious note, I think that people are getting involved in this, and what I love about it is that this is not something that we have to wait on the government to do for us. We can take control of the situation. We can put our you know, all our efforts already. You have a build. Caswell is offering his place because he's already doing something up at his place. Mr. Franklin, he does some of everything up there. You know,
Marcia, sorry, I want to comment quickly to Simone Danielle.
Yes, good. You do that.
She's saying that there are tools now that can convert speech to text. So what does this mean for the future and for learning?
Yeah,
it is useful, but at the end of the day, unless you can read that text, because I use one of those things. For me, writing a paper and so on, it helps. But if I cannot, first of all, it sometimes accents can create a little problem. And so it may not necessarily capture accurately 100% of what you've written.
Mm-hmm.
But if I cannot read, that still does not help me, because I still need to be able to edit what it is that it, you know, to make sure if you know, because you're talking about communicating. And so that is great but the fundamentals have to be there. In other words, you still have to be able to read. So if you don't have that, that helps those who already can read.
Yeah, because look, I'll tell you, I have two typing fingers. You see them there. So I don't have these skills where I can do this and type my life. So I'm very slow. I'm not a 60 or 70 word a minute person. So when this device came up, because all of my devices now, even my phone, I can speak to this and do my letter. However, as Maxine said, sometimes you get I call a word and I come up think it's something else, and so you gotta be able to read it. But mind you, I'll be able to do 4 letters a day, and I can do 10 because I can speak to the phone, and then they just go and change the little things. But I write faster with this pen than I type. And so when I am typing, my head goes long and leave me because I can't type fast enough to keep up my head. So I can write. Yeah. So I write. So it don't matter what you need to be able to read. If you can't read it, you're still lost because it converted the text, but it converted the text not with your accent. So what you might see a word, or sometimes 2 words that say the same thing, mean the same thing, but different.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's interesting though. It's an interesting thing because I think that some people misunderstand that, and they think that they don't need to learn to read or write because then the computer will do it for them. They can there's ChatGPT, there's all these different things that you can just go on and they feel, but if you're still going to need to be able to correct it, and is it really saying what it is that you want to say?
Yeah, because like for instance, Siri, I'm talking to Siri and I'm telling Siri things that Siri is coming up with the wrong word every time. I said, Siri, you're a freak, She said, you're entitled to your opinion. I said, I keep getting the word wrong.
Artificial intelligence, but this is serious,
Yeah,
it's serious. It's serious.
But yeah. So people are responding. Rose Corbin is sending me here.
She's good. She's got that too, adult training.
Yes, this is what she does, and so more than likely will be one of those. If she has the time, Miss Corbin, if she has the time, she'll be able to help us to lead that area on education. That's our big thing, and literacy as well. I think that that is very, very very important. Yeah. Now tomorrow is a big day in terms of the cybercrime bill, and where there are, as far as I know, there seem to be a couple of our persons who have said that they've gotten a response. Victor Lewis is saying he's had a response from St. Joseph. There is Dr. Ferdinand, and there's Kimar. I don't know if there's anybody else who will be presenting in Parliament concerning the cybercrime bill. If that's you and you want to let us know so that we can, be, rooting for you. I know, Miss McLean, you're going to check tomorrow to see if you are on as well. But I know that quite a number of written submissions were made, right? So we will wait to see. But I think I know Mr. Franklin has said it over and over that the process is flawed the way it is being done. But you know what, we're going to work out the process. We're going to work out the process, do what it is that we have to do. Now there is another bill. This is a child protection bill. And I remember that they had a similar thing happening in Parliament, a similar positioning where people came in from the Bar Association, the Child Care Board, from the churches, from community groups, And they had days of it where people were going in and sharing their concerns about the child protection bill. Well, I'm being told, Mr. Franklin and Miss McLean, that it is now being said that this bill is going to be debated on May 14th, the child protection bill. But I don't understand. You are a former senator, so you can educate me on this. I thought that because they came to the public with it, because, you know, we made a lot of noise about it, and they came to the public and said, okay, another one of those pullback things, right? The cart before the horse. They come now to the public and ask the public to give their thoughts on the child protection bill. I thought that they would then come back, you know, send something out or something to say a draft, you know, and then before they go, they go to debate on it. Am I thinking wrong, or it goes the other way around? When does the public see the draft?
No, I think that if it had been sent to a select committee, they should, once they have completed, they should publicize that and certainly make it known. Because as you're talking, I'm trying to see if it's on Parliament's website, because people would have made their inputs and they would want to know. Let me see. I'm looking at Child Protection Bill 2023. So if this has gone to, if it went, the public should know and be able to get a look at, have sight of the draft. So, but as well,
that would be the decent thing to do. But the rules of Parliament don't require decency. What they do, they listen to you. They take the information that you put forward. They sit among themselves and they sift through it. And if they agree, mostly they don't. But if they agree, they put that in their report, and then you debate the report rather than the bill. And then, sometimes the report will say that we will need to insert a word or words or delete something from the bill. They say that, and that is it. It goes to Parliament. You then discuss the report. What should really happen? They should actually do a draft then to show what the result. But we don't see it, and unfortunately, the printer doesn't have any paper, so they're not going to. No, I'm serious, Maxine. And you're looking, wondering why somebody.
No, but I haven't asked the printer a long time. So even if the printer doesn't have paper, I should be able to print it out for somebody who wants a hard copy, but I gotta find it first. That's the point I was making.
But they're not going to they don't produce it because they don't really want you in the business. These were fallback positions. They had the shoes on before the socks, and now they're scrambling back. But they just want you to the business so they can go ahead. So they give you this little panacea, little thing to make you feel good. Mm-hmm. And so people must protest. How come you to ask us for help? We help you. You don't even which party help you and accept. It don't work. So it is common decency. You got to force these people to be decent.
Yeah, Mr. Franklin, I'm. This is a bill. I know that I was hitting the streets for this bill. This was before I started with the NIS and
That's
so on.
Right.
And I'm saying I'm at a loss. I mean, if it is that now you're ready, you've taken all the concerns. Okay, yes, you came together and took the concerns. We want to see the draft. We want to see the draft. We want to see what did you incorporate? What did you remove? What is happening? We want to see, the public must see the draft. And and this is why, the stuff like the cybercrime bill, they would want to have that in place so that we don't make a fuss about these kinds of things. But the public needs to demand a draft of the child protection bill. This is very important. We want to send out a message to our those who are in the opposition inside the parliament, to the leader of the opposition, to the senators, that these are the things that matter to us. We need to be able, the public need to see the draft. That is just common, as Mr. Franklin said, decency, respect. Respect. And I have a problem with this disrespectful kind of thing that happens. Huh?
You want to hear about disrespect? Who knows the Prime Minister of the island?
Marcia, it is on the order paper. I'm here looking at the order paper. It says government business for Tuesday, 7th of May. On the order paper, item 2, Honorable KDM Humphrey to resume the debate on the second reading of the Child Protection Bill 2023. Notice of this bill was given on 7th of February 2023. The bill was read the first time on 7th February 2023. The bill was published in the Official Gazette on 13th of February 2023. On 16th May 2023, Honorable KDM Humphrey's further consideration was postponed. On resumption on the 23rd of May 2023, Honorable KDM Humphrey concluded his speech and moved, seconded by Honorable D.A. Ishmael, that the bill be read a second time. Further consideration of the bill was postponed, and on the motion of Honorable KDM Humphrey, seconded by Honorable D.I. Ishmael, the bill was referred to the Joint Select Committee on Social Sector and Environment. So
that's another mistake, because what you should do now, when you realize that there are problems with the bill, you don't do the second reading. You don't continue the second reading. You stop and let go to the committee. It goes to committee because you go to committee to trash out these things in the bill.
And so they will send it to a select committee if necessary.
Yeah, you send a select committee, and then when the select committee reports, then you would read it the second time. I mean, that's basically like passing it.
No, based on what Council said and what I read here, what should happen? We should be able to see on the website, and I'm going to look now and see if I see it here. I looked before. Well, I would have to compare two things, because I would have to find the original bill and then see whether the select committee has made changes. And I think and the reason it went to select committee was, as Marcia pointed out, there was much public discussion about provisions in that bill. I remember the discussions and so on. Several people got involved. And so the question really and truly is, what has changed and where can we find those changes? Because at the end of the day, what you do not want to happen is that the bill goes through because chances are that you would just hear Mr. Humphrey speak, maybe the Ishmael minister and the other MP Ishmael and some other one or two people, if at all, and then it is passed and it goes up to the Senate. So the question really and truly is I will try to find something. As I said, I've searched. Can they tell the public what are the essential changes? Because at the end of the day, as I repeat myself, the fact that it was deferred and was suspended or whatever, and sent to that special committee was because people felt that there were issues there that were troubling. Have they been discussed? And I think that even if the practice over the last few years has been to just put the thing up a day or two before, if at all, or whatever, in a case like this, I think that the government and the minister responsible owe it to the people to share that information in advance. Because at the end of the day, it is not the 14th. It is what I just read is the 7th. Is this week, 2 days from now, that this is going to be debated in Parliament. And so my question really and truly, Mr. Humphrey, what are you debating? What changes, if any, have been made? If you have not made any, come to the public and say so. Because it looks the way it is looking is like you just sneaking it back in there, slip it back in there, and you go and pass it. But so I really would like to see what they're debating and what changes.
I think that they're trying to do something. What you said is what I thought this evening, because there's a hoopla about the cybercrime bill, is to put it in there with all the noise.
Well, we can multitask. Tell them that we can multitask.
You're right. You're right, Miss McLean. I think it's just disrespectful, and it's dishonest because, and this is going back to what Caswell was saying, these joint select committees is only because people are making, they did not expect that they were going to have any kind of opposition. They didn't expect it at all. And once they got it, they're trying to appease people. They're trying to appease people and talk about these joint select committees that they're going to, and I wonder if this is what they plan to do with the cybercrime bill.
Yeah.
And we have to have our eyes wide open, Barbados. Eyes wide open. You cannot, this government, it's sad to say that I'm saying this, some people will say it's not responsible to say, but the truth is that it's difficult for me to trust them.
No, but Marcia, you don't have to apologize for that. Look, I think that, and I say this to Mr. Humphrey as a former student of mine. I have to tell that I taught him at KFL. And one of the things I hope that people will appreciate is their responsibility to the public. It was sent because you didn't just change your mind, Mr. Humphrey. You were reacting to concerns of citizens. So before you go back to do this, because you would know that if that was debated and essentially passed, because that's what it appeared to be based on the sequence of things that I read out just now. There's going to be no big debate on this. You would probably have him and one other person maybe speak, and it goes through. Well, now, of course, we hope that Mr. Thorne would have a chance to speak to this. But I certainly was trying to search, and I will send a note to the Clerk of Parliament tomorrow to ask where I can get a copy of what is changed, because at the end of the day, have there been any changes? And if so, why not? Because I don't think that we should just hear it in Parliament, because if they're going to Parliament and say, well, we didn't change anything because we really didn't listen to the public, nor we didn't think your suggestions were worth considering, and therefore then it's going to be a done deal. But tell us so that we can start highlighting the issues that we had before if they have not been addressed. And
now, the problem here, no, I want to see how they're going to get around this here, because Mr. Thorne and everybody else has spoken on this bill already. So basically, there is nothing for the House to do now.
But if there have been changes, Doc, as well, yeah? if they haven't taken it through that process and bringing it back, aren't you creating a new opportunity? So in essence, let me go back through. I went through the series of things. Let me look at it again, because my question, based on what you just said, if they're bringing it back, doesn't that open it to discussion all over again? That's the simple.
They're not. The discussion is the second reading. The second reading has been passed.
No, but so what are they planning? I need to understand.
What they did was it didn't make what they did didn't make sense. All right, they should not have passed it.
So this will get confusion.
So what you're going to do now is they're going to second reading. They said, well, they can say the House. Then they're going to do the third reading, and then they said the bill is no pass, and whatever else.
But hold on. It says here, because it says the further consideration was postponed after Mr. Humphrey spoke on the 16th of May. On resumption on the 23rd, he concluded his speech and moved, and it was seconded by Ishmael that the bill be read a second time. However, further consideration of the bill was postponed, and on the motion of Humphrey and seconded by Ishmael again, the bill was referred to a joint select committee on social sector and environment. Okay, so you're saying then that having had the second reading, what was postponed was the committee phase of the debate. That's what you're saying?
They would look so.
So if the committee phase of the debate was postponed, the assumption then is you are returning to the committee phase with either adjusted with the original bill with no adjustments or corrections, additions, changes, whatever, no changes. Let me just put it that way. or you're coming back to the committee stage with changes. Now, if you are coming back with changes, well, I guess what you would then have is
You will debate the change.
in committee.
The committee will say, I beg to move that clause 1 stand part. Somebody will say, the chairman will put it that clause 1 stand part. Those in favor say aye, those against,
and they go through the whole bill like that.
They go through it like that. Now, however, then let's say you come to clause 10. I beg to move clause 10 stand part. Mr. Thorne raises. He speaks. He can speak for no more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
But then he sits down. Nobody else speaks.
And it goes along.
And it goes along because if somebody's got to be got to speak for another 15 minutes, they're not going to facilitate.
Don't teach them how to do it.
Well, you see, it's all this is all a game for these people,
Yeah,
and they know what it is that they want to do. And I'm saying to Barbadians, we need to stand up with a resounding no. This kind of disrespect, we should not accept it. It is disrespectful. We must see a draft. We must see a draft.
I think, Marcia, what we need to be able to pull out were the essential issues that were contentious for the public.
Yes, I will
if
have
you can
those
get that list
by Wednesday. I
right.
will have those. I'm gonna have those, and they're not, as you said. You said we are ambidextrous. We're gonna use both hands.
Want to deal with that? I want to deal with that.
Right. We're going to deal with this cybercrime, and we're going to deal with this because this is just as important to us. Okay. I see Kimar is here.
Right.
I will also give out a challenge to Mr. Humphrey. So we would love for you to be on the show, sir. And I'm going to write a formal letter inviting you on the show, Mr. Humphrey, because we need to talk about this. You know, come and answer the questions to the public. We put you there. I am personally tired of this kind of sleight of hand and this deception, like we're stupid. I'm tired of it because all that's going to happen when they go there, as Mr. Franklin said, they're all there, 29 of them. That thing is going to go through like that. That's what they're planning to do. And you know, in certain countries, they could never even get that done. But they think, they underestimate the Barbadian people. That's the problem. But let me get to Kimar, because I don't want to get myself very upset on here tonight. Kimar, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Marcia. How are you?
Rescue your sister before I draw for some big stones.
Yes, but good night to you, good night to Maxine, and good night to Caswell, and good night to all of the members of the loyal opposition.
Good night, Kimar.
Yes. I am here. I'm happy to be here again with you guys as always. I went picnicking today, so I got in a little bit late. But nevertheless, I'm here. But when we were out, we got some very twisted news on the road, you know.
Really?
And something I believe it or not, this may sound funny, but I hope some may not laugh. But a cybercrime was committed against me today, you know.
Well, I don't see anything. What is it?
But somebody impersonated me and created a WhatsApp with and cloned my WhatsApp. This same picture that you see that I have here, they took that picture, which I have on my LinkedIn, and they went in and they wrote a completely false press release. I put my picture on it with a statement purporting to say that Kimar Stewart said the following. I sent it to all of the media houses to print.
What?
Yeah.
This attack is serious though. What?
So somebody should be giving me $70,000. About no, because I feel embarrassed, I feel hurt, I feel insulted, I feel all of these things, right? But
wow. I don't understand. You come on, nobody sent it to me. I don't understand. I want to see it.
It wasn't for you. It wasn't for you. It was targeted. Make sure we don't get something like that. They know who to send it to.
Right. They were saying strategically to the media houses to publish. So it wasn't to come in it was for the media. So they wanted to do this thing to 'cause I don't even want to put the content of it because it is so serious. It actually compromised my work. Right? Actually compromised my work because it purported to say that I, in my official capacity or whatever, is purported to make the following statement on behalf of the leader of the opposition.
Oh my God.
Why would I be issuing a statement on behalf of the opposition leader who I'm in the parliament? But that's how nasty Barbados is getting, right?
Yeah, that's it. Kimar, I want to say this here publicly. That I get dreams about things, right? And there's something that I had a notion. I talked to you about it, about framing. And this was only Friday night. Friday, about framing, right? That they're going to try. But you see, this is what that is. It's to frame you, right? That is that, and we have to just keep watching out. And I'm sure the leader of the opposition know you're the type of person that you are, and you would never have sent something like that to the media houses.
You see, the harm is easily done, but very hard to undo. So by the time you are trying to undo that harm, they can be getting away with a lot of crap. That is why they do it. They distract you. It is to stop you from fighting against them and fight to clear your name, so that you don't have to. You won't have to be doing your Sherlock things with them anymore. Your Sherlock Holmes thing. You got to be a little bit fighting to protect yourself, and it is testimony to you, because the old people say tell you don't see a fella pelting rocks up in an empty mango tree.
Correct.
But don't pelt rocks up there. You are worth something, and they want to get rid of you. They want to pelt rocks up in your tree. They want to damage you. They want to destroy you or they want to buy you. You won't be bought, so they're going to destroy you.
Yes.
So you got to be careful, because they don't care anything about you. They care about keep on looking good, whether they should look good or not. And if you're going to be a casualty, so be it. They don't care a thing about you. They don't care you're a young bright man in Barbados. They care that you're saying things that they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
This is not a democracy, and you don't have the right to speak freely.
They're doing a whole lot. They're doing a whole lot, but we are not afraid. And I want the people out there, don't believe, because I'm telling you, they're going to try it with all of us. They're going to try it with all of us. And so when you hear things, because we have a tendency, Mr. Franklin, they would put us up on this pedestal, Kimar, and then the same people will kick down the pedestal. That's why I don't get caught up into this thing of you lording me up and whatever.
I have said to you on the show before that they even set honey traps for me, but I'm 65 and I'm not so attracted to honey anymore, so but I actually when I see it, I tell them, I said, look, I able, so keep moving.
Kimar, we got you.
They will do everything possible. Kimar, you got to keep your head on. They will do every possible thing, to pull you down. They will destroy you, and you got to be vigilant.
Listen, Kimar, we got you. And I know if it was me, you all would rally around me. We rally around Mr. Franklin when they try to destroy his reputation in Parliament. They're afraid of us. They are afraid of us, and we needed to let them know whatever strategies you're doing, we are not afraid. You understand? We are all guns blazing, and we're doing it together. What they can't understand, Mr. Franklin, is how we are working together. We are working together. You touch Kimar, you touch Marcia Weeks, you touch Caswell, right? You touch Maxine McLean. That's how we're working. And it's not Kimar that needs to clear his name. We are all going to work to clear his name. And every single one of you that's on here, you are going to use when you see that stuff, don't pass it on. Don't pass it on, because the battle has intensified. And they're going to try different ways. I came on here and I told you someone who is up in those circles told me that the madame is so annoyed by our marches. That's what I've been told, that they head on. She is so annoyed and angry. They're going to all the little minions that are underneath, that bow and kiss the ring. They will do whatever they can to destroy people's lives. But it's not going to be destroyed, because Kima, you're going to do more Sherlock. Go and do more Sherlock and do all kinds of things. I've taken up the time talking because I want the people to understand we are not going to break ranks. We're going to come around Kima. You hear what I tell you? Every single one of us, and use whatever resources that we have legally, and we're going to protect him. And if it happened to me, I expect you to do the same, and to Mr. Franklin or Miss McLean or whomever it is. But Kimar, this is your segment. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
No, I was just going to say the unfortunate reality is that for whatever reason, and I would say the Prime Minister, as head of the government, they did what they felt they needed to do, and nobody hindered them when they were walking the streets and so on. We have identified and very systematically, based on analysis and all of that, the issues, and we put them out there. A lot of what was said and done, and you carried clips of it, was not based on solid fact, and nobody prevented or objected to what they were doing. That was their right, But now, what are you trying to do? Discredit, as somebody said. But Kimar, I trust that you will continue to do what you're seeking to do. We recognize how we have to do things, and as I've said to people, we have all done so in a very professional way, to all intents and purposes. So anyhow, don't let me delay you, because you have your contribution to make.
No, I want to delay him though one more time. If the media publish anything about you and it is not true, and it didn't come from you, you get an apology in the same prominence that they came out in the paper, and some change, and not a little bit of change either. So they will then learn to contact you before they, especially when you didn't contact them to give them the
story.
Nobody can come and give you a story. You want to run with it, they have to check. So if anything comes out, I know good lawyer, you work for one. So make sure that it doesn't let it stop there. And that will teach them a lesson. And whoever the paper get it from, they will know. Or the police, if they email it in or WhatsApp it in, the police know how to get to the person who sent it. And I tell you, I know that for a fact.
Caswell, one last comment. And there, from all I've heard over the years.
Go ahead, Miss.
All over the years, the newspaper has allocated funds for these purposes. So they do that kind of work, expecting to be sued. So I would say to Kimar, take Caswell's advice and follow through with it. If they want to do that, because as you correctly say, when they try to do these things, the correction, often the damage is done. But with the access to internet and so on, and instant responses to some of these things, the damage is not. At least you can seek to correct some of this. So you need to go the next step and have a lawyer write to them on your behalf.
Yeah, and I just want to address this because I live in the constituency, so I have the right to say this. Kimar, permit me here to just say this about this man here that is supposed to be in my constituency, that I have seen him once only because I came on air and went on brass tacks. Then he turned up at my door with people. Listen to me here. There's a call to Easy D, and you said you found it funny.
Found it funny for me.
How is that funny? The Minister of Agriculture and Environment described the march today in the meeting as an infestation of rats, and that was funny to you, Easy D? How did you find that funny? Huh? And I know Miss McLean says we're not to call names, but I'm not calling this man name. I'm just declaring and telling you, as someone who live in this community, that he is a waste man. A waste, W-A-S-T-E, waste, man. And everybody here know, the little old ladies tell me if they see him, they hit him with a bag because he's worthless in here, in this constituency.
You see what we're talking about, dunce, Maxine?
Huh?
Well, I would say this because, sorry, since this, put back at that there, Marcia, for me, please. Because I really don't
find that funny, Barbadians standing up for their rights.
I would say this.
That people are calling those people the people out there rats.
Well, the Minister of Agriculture and what is it, whatever it is, he needs to deal with the rat infestation in this country that killing people's crops and whatever and the thing. But let me say this to him. I listened to him for years coming on the radio. He's Minister of Environment, he's Minister of Agriculture. I thought you had a separate minister. I thought with the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Environment is somebody else as far as
medic is environment.
Yes, so the Minister of Agriculture of whom I speak, I listened to him when I was a minister, government come on the radio in a very condescending tone, trying to criticize everything. And I have observed him now as Minister of Agriculture talk a whole set of things that make absolutely no sense. And I would say this, irrespective, I know I ain't talking about rats in Parliament because I respect people. Irrespective of their station.
I respect people who respect me.
Well, I respect people because I do not sink to their level. And if that is how you're going to speak about Barbadians exercising their right to free speech and to highlight concerns, and then you want to tell people you're a representative of people, your behavior and your comment is perhaps lower than the creature that you talk about. I ain't gonna call you no rat, but really and truly, what gives you the right to call another human being a rat? You know, they are stupid when they behave like that.
Look, you see, you say you're not gonna sink to their level. You see, you go down to their level, beat the crap out of them, and then leave them down there. You don't stay with them. That's the best way to do it, you know. You don't stay down there with them.
Listen, we're taking up Kimar,
please proceed.
Kimar, I jump in your time, Kimar. Go ahead, Kimar. Go ahead, son.
But I tend not to, or I try not to go to the gutter regular. I do if I have to, if I'm pushed. Right? So all I will say here is I too would get angry if rats did not rear on the rears. Right? If I could not get a rat to fit in on the rear, if I was in the rear, I too would get angry if a rat could not fit in on the rear. So we understand why he's angry.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. So we leave him to be. He and whatever baby D's he has. But this is a serious thing, right? I thought about it. And it crossed my mind, you know. They know that we're supposed to attend the Joint Select Committee tomorrow.
Yes.
To address on this cybercrime bill. And here is it, the day before cybercrime was being committed against me. Right? So this is the same person that they were trying to get to submit an oral presentation in a written form way before the time so they could come and have my presentation before I come and present it. Right? On top of the fact that we received those letters before. Right? So I need all people to see that this is a pattern already. Right? So don't wait until the situation becomes worse. Then they say, well, we should have listened to what Kimar was. I'm saying it early. Right? It's bringing great discomfort to know that you can be out there speaking the truth, you know, and not telling lies. And people, whoever these people are, would take the time out to do something like that. Right? So I, for the life of me, will not believe that somebody would go on to my LinkedIn profile, even take some of my professional credentials and put in there and falsify a whole thing and using even names of the former prime minister in it and former leaders of the of the DLP and other people. And I mean, we went through this before in terms of the whole social media discrediting of the entire government, you know. We went through this before. We were made to believe things about people that were not true. We were made to believe things about policies that were not true. We were made to believe. We marched up and down in Barbados. Well, not me, because I didn't go, but people marched up and down Barbados, marching against NSRL, even being paid to do it, right? Because we were so lies and we discredited people's reputations. And here we go again. Here we go again, right? But I don't want to get into the conspiracy theory and to point a finger at anybody in particular. But I find it very canny and very timely that something like this could occur just before we have to go and present our facts on this cybercrime bill. Why of all people?
Asking a question. Did you contact the newspaper? Were you able to let them know it's not you?
Well, I was not even contacted. That's the thing.
Oh, and it's in the newspaper already?
But it's not in the newspaper. A call was made to my superiors, or what we call it, and I was informed of the fact that I have a press release sitting at a media host purporting to say that I say these things from a telephone number originating out of the United States with my picture and my name. You know, we have WhatsApp name, so they cloned my entire profile and wrote this whole thing saying that I'm speaking on behalf of the opposition of Barbados. That is dangerous, right? But I hope the people on the shore and Barbadians see. Up to now, we have not told a lie on anybody, because if we told lies, we would have been sued. For sure.
Right? If the one locked me up for telling the truth, you think they're going to lock me up for lying?
Good. But people could be sending threatening letters to my house. People could be purporting to discredit me professionally and otherwise, right? But they have their job to do. I have my job to do. And at the end of the day, I know I am living. I have a long life to live. I have a lot to contribute to this country, and it will contribute it. So anybody believing that taking this road with Kimar's short will you then benefits, well, you know, got some hours to be up at night.
You know, but this thing comes from the consultants that they pay with our money. They have consultants paying them 20,000 plus a month to do these kind of things, you know. That's what they do for a living. So, and the thing is, it is being paid. This should be a Barbados Labour Party expenditure, but it is not. They call them consultants, and the government of Barbados is paying for the Barbados Labour Party propaganda. Right. It is criminal, but they're doing it.
Marcia, well, I'm not going to give details, but Kimar is the second young person that have seen attempts to damage using social media and so on. But at the end of the day, in the same way that they use it, we have access to refute these kinds of things.
Correct.
And that is all I would say on that, because, you know, it is not the first time. Caswell made a point, and I can tell you, because information was given to me in terms of the amount spent, the names of the persons who came into this country, including the one, and in addition to the ones who are on payroll and so on, and the way in which they sought to use social media in terms of election campaigning and its information and everything. It's a very complex and expensive exercise that they've undertaken. But I say it, and I start with the Prime Minister of Barbados, because she heads the government, and she would have headed the opposition. And I say this, in the 90s and early 2000s, I spent about a decade doing a call-in program. Sorry, Kimar, but I have to say this. And I know that people, they bug your phone, and I put it to the test. and established that's what it was. Your phones were bugged. They sent you all kind of threatening messages. I remember going on the program and reading Psalm 37 for them, because somebody came to me with a message, somebody in a high office, to tell me, they can get at you through your son. Well, thank God my son is a man now. But as a child, I spoke to him. These things have been going on. And then you would have members telling you, man, I got a file on you. And when I'm done with you, by the time you can't clear up that mess by the time the damage is done and all of that. And if people are going to sink to those levels to destroy people who are trying to destroy, because they will not destroy persons who are seeking to inform and educate the public. The public is watching. We didn't have this probably in the 90s and early 2000s in the way that we do now. What I would say, though, and I will say this because I got a call from a former student of mine. I taught thousands of Barbadians across the length and breadth of this island, and Caribbean people across the length and breadth of the Caribbean. And the person said to me, I hope you people are taking your personal security seriously. Now, this is not new for me, because I know things that were said and warnings that came to me through my siblings when I was in government, especially when I was responsible for immigration. But I will tell you this, we need to take it very seriously, because it seems as though, even though you have everything, and when I say you, I'm talking about the government, 30 seats, no opposition, we decided that until recently when it was done that Barbadians needed to be informed. And this is how you are going to seek to do this. And let me say this, let me talk about bugging telephones. Bugging telephones didn't stop when the government changed. My phone continued, equipment was still being used to spy on government ministers. And I will say publicly now, after a situation, when I was Prime Minister in the Prime Minister's office with my private line at government headquarters, and I reported it, and I was told by my colleagues and superiors to speak to it. And a certain officer came to my office to check my phone. And when I spoke to somebody outside, because I tell you, my life has taken me all over this country. 17 and a half years of teaching at KFL I have a network of people I know. And when I called the name of the officer who checked my phone, the person laughed and said, but that's probably the person that bugged the phone in the first place. Okay? And from then until I left the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in May of 2018, I did not use my private line. And I can tell you that even when I used the PBX and made certain calls to a colleague, I used to make phone, because the only time my phone would give trouble was when I was speaking to that colleague. And I will call the name of the colleague now, is the Prime Minister of Barbados. So even when we were in office, people were still spying into us.
Correct.
So this is serious.
It is. It is.
But I will say to people, I fear not.
Correct. We are not afraid. Well, our march is on Saturday, Kimar, and you will go tomorrow with a clear head. All of us will be behind you. Don't study that. You focus in now. You understand? Be bullseye, and you go tomorrow. You shake that off, Kimar, and you go tomorrow, and we are supporting you. The people are going to be praying for you. You go in there and deliver what you have to deliver tomorrow with your health, your head held high. We are not afraid, and we're standing together. We are standing together, And my husband is a witness to what I told him the other night, Friday, Kimar. And I don't know if I had the chance to tell you, but when I could not come on the show, I stayed right there in my little chair, and I started to pray and read my Bible, and this is what I heard. They're going to frame you. Because I had a dream, and I'm going to say it right here on here. I had a dream. I looked through the window, and there was a police car and a policeman walking to my house. And I woke up out the dream, and I told Dave about it. What does that mean? And it's Friday night when I did not come on the program. I was praying, and it came right back up to me again. and it says you are going to be framed. And so, Kimar, I know that the plan, I know what the plan is, but we are supporting you. It is devilish, it's demonic, it's from hell, because they did not expect any form of opposition. That's the problem, right? But we chatted out all of your time. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I had anything else to say, we had to take a back seat because my safety is
Important.
first and foremost important. And then you're cutting cross now into somebody's professional arena with these things. So you mean to say that you intend to starve anybody who does not buy in or support you think, and this is the thing, it's not that we do intentional or sinister actions to derail. All we want is for things to be done the right way, And we tell the truth. We actually teach a lot of the people, and even ministers. Ministers sit and watch this show and learn a lot about their own ministries from watching this show. Right?
Marcia,
So,
I want to say this quickly in terms of a strategy for dealing with some of this, right? The officials, the government officials go around the world given the impression that this little island Barbados is such a great democracy and all kinds of things go in the way that they should.
I know what you're going to say. Don't say it all here right now. I know what you're going to say.
But the world needs to know.
Okay, we going to talk off of here. We got a plan.
Yeah, but the world needs to know what's going on around here. But they do, because people listen to this show.
Don't say everything. Don't say everything. Kimar, the people are supporting you, and it's not going to work. We see them already in the spirit. We see them already, and the people are praying. And a lot of people, they go to the bed and God reveal it to them. Here I tell you, this is not might or power, but it is by the Spirit of God. It must have been a reason I didn't even get on the other night. So don't worry about it. Everything is okay. And I'm sure
You didn't get on it, but called trade winds.
Huh?
You didn't get on because it's called trade winds. That's the reason. The showing because trade winds is a fight. It's cybercrime thing, and how to blocking people's phones. Trade winds. So you were one of the targets.
One of the targets. Something.
That's why the shut us down. But we went right back up.
Right back up. And I tell you, the best team ever. These nobody on here is being paid. The best team ever. I could lay down there and say my prayers and read my Bible. Yeah. And because I understand, Kimar, it's not by might or by power. And we're inviting everybody to come out to the march on Saturday. We are not afraid. You hear what I tell you? Kimar, we're going to be at the front of that march. We are, and let the people know. Let them see we're not going to hide our face. We're not going to be hiding. In fact, Kimar, I can say it because she gave me permission to say it. Mr. Franklin and everybody knows Michelle Russell, the Jamaican lawyer. If you notice, you have not been hearing her much, Miss McLean, in the public's eye, because she was getting letters. She was getting letters. And Michelle took it in a whole different way, and she just shut down. Literally shut down. This is where we live. This is the Barbados that we live in. Where she was getting letters. She told me when she saw this stuff in the newspaper, she messaged me and said, Marcia, but I was getting letters, and that's what I decided. She said it was so bad she didn't want to leave her house. Well, I tell you, I'm not locking up in no house. I told her that. I said, I'm not me, Michelle. I go open my mouth and I go call. You tell me don't call me a motley name. I go call it 1,600 times. And I going on the road and I'm marching. And I'm doing whatever I have to do. Your letters will never shut us down. No, none of us here. All of us, Franklin got letters, Kimar, Glenn Murray. And listen, we're still here.
Mine probably get lost. I didn't see mine yet, or maybe the figure I can read or something. But Marcia, I want to touch on something you just said there about Miss Russell, because of course her situation probably is a little bit different from yours, because you have probably a wider network and you've been living here a much longer time. But that is ridiculous. As you were speaking about her, I remember there were some what I would call users of social media to criticize government decisions and policies and prices and all kind of thing, and then they just disappear. You know, there was one individual, and I asked some questions recently, and the person said to me that I asked, and I felt that they should know. You see, because as I tell, I know a lot of people who don't know me, or who I don't know me, but they told me that the you know, you have to think about your future, your safety, and your future, and threats are made to people, you know, but you will only intimidate so many people, but others will not be intimidated. What I would say is, you see that I agree with that. I am very selective. In fact, I remember years ago an old lady was at a political event, and I got up and left a plate to go and collect a drink, and the old lady stopped me when I was getting in my car to go back to the office. And she said, "Don't you ever do that again, even if you're among friends. You're a politician." I said, "Well, thanks." I mean, I felt comfortable because I was among friends, but she said, "No, you don't." But you know, it is sad, because this makes me angry. It is sad that people who sought to use all kinds of tactics, fear, unfair, in between, and worse, to campaign against the government. I mean, a whole set of things out there that when you know, people sit down and think about it, you know, there were, as I said, they ran the full gamut. And here you have people who are saying, look, in the absence of a formal opposition for a couple of years, and now with one individual, it is important that we pay attention to what's going on. And you want to stop that? Is this a dictatorship? Is this the new way of doing things in this new republic? No. Madness. But I would say to them, people have cameras at their homes, and all around them are cameras. This is one of the beautiful things about what's happening. Every time you see young men trying to break into people's homes, they can show you images and identify them and so on. So when you start sending your missives and your letters and your threats and so on, trust me. But I will share this, because you see, it is getting more and more sinister. I had a conversation with a former student of mine, and I was talking to somebody, Marcia, this is in your part of the world. And the person was saying to me, because I called the individual, and the person was just was fixing a gate or something. And the individual said to me, you know, we are having a lot of robberies and so on. Cars are being stolen. But, and I will say this because, and I hope it is not true, but I was told, and I'm asking the question, is there any truth to the fact that a dog owned by a member of parliament who had reason to speak out, another one was killed?
Yes.
Recently.
Yes, I got a message about that. They are victimizing that lady. They are victimizing her, and they're trying to put, you know, these things get me so mad. She messaged me. They're trying, Miss McLean and Caswell, and think there's that woman in St. Philip, and they have decided to take a set on that woman because she's not in agreement with them. This is the Barbados that we live in.
That's why the world has to know about the hypocrisy that obtains in this so-called free speech society, which is supposed to be highly democratic and all of these things.
I don't know why she don't come out on the march with us. Come out. Let me tell you, God has not given you a spirit of fear. If you're listening, you know who it is. Because you didn't want to call the name. I will see if she will let me know by tomorrow if I can call her name. Come out on the march with us. We are marching under the banner. We are not afraid. And you are you're a person that they have victimized, Mr. Franklin, with the land tax. She told me that her land tax has not been fixed.
So what they've done with that is, behind her back, they applied the agricultural rebate, making it look as though she applied for an agricultural rebate and it was granted. Because then agricultural rebate, you can pay 50% of the tax. So, but you have to go to Ministry of Agriculture application and take it in there. One of those people inside there apply the agricultural rebate to bring her down, and it will look as though they revert her thing. They are doing nastiness again to her. They continue, because what will happen, they will say to her, look, you see, she better get agricultural rebate. When the thing blows, they're setting her up.
Yeah.
I was planning to call her and tell her about it, but I didn't get her wrong to it. But now she knows.
Yes. Yeah, but
they did nastiness to her this time again.
Yeah.
You know, because it can look as though she's a big girl, and because she said she got 20 chickens, a few coconut trees and stuff. That's not agriculture. That's for personal use. And you get an agricultural rebate when you're actually producing for sale. But they apply the agricultural rebate to her so as to bring back on the taxes so that she wouldn't be making any more noises. And together with the nastiness, somebody in Brad needs to go home. And not only one, several of them. But
yeah, I'm telling her, you're listening. She listens to this program. You have nothing to be afraid of. Trust me. God is with you. Make a move. Come out on the march on Saturday with us under the banner. We are not afraid. Stand up. Strong. You're a strong woman. You are strong. You are enough. You understand? So Saturday, everybody, we out there. You joining us? Join us out there. We are under the banner. Our march is under the banner. We are not afraid. You see how applicable this is now, Kima? Right? This banner, we are not afraid. You could do all that you want to do. And it's easy to minions, you know, who believe that everybody must bow down. And because you don't want to bow down, they decide they pick it up on themselves to try to hurt people and do all kinds of things. But I tell you, what I want to tell you, I can't tell you on the show because they're going to say that, you know, whatever. But I tell you this, there's something called prayer here. There's something called prayer. All right. I will pray for you. Don't worry.
Marcia, before we go there, it's almost 10 o'clock.
It's 10:07.
I can really tell you, Marcia. it's almost 10 o'clock, and we only have 298 likes. You know, and
how much?
298.
Wow.
So 99 now. Come on, please put some. Let your fingers do the talking, so that we can. The algorithm or whatever they do, I don't know, understand this computer thing. My son explained those things to me, and they probably didn't understand. But they tell me that when you like it, we get more notice on the internet. So like us some more, so more people will see us. Don't let us go out tonight, but just under 400. And right, so we ain't got much time. So I start typing away. I understand yesterday on the march, some person told me, Caswell, we would like to but you know. They might know that we do it, and people so frightened. You know, people frightened. People don't want to be seen. We're 318 once, 318 twice. Do we see 400? I need some more, Marcia. Marcia, better like it too.
Yeah, let me go and like. I'm gonna go and like the show. So everybody, just take a moment and like it before we come off. I'm gonna go and do that now. And I thought, Mr. Franklin, I'm not.
You know, I'm 353.
I just did.
You know, because I did it early, but come on, 370. You know, we need those likes. And well, you can still share it, you know, because people will watch it tonight. I have people from England who call me to say that they're watching it. You know, they're 4 hours ahead, and they watch it in the mornings. So you can still share to anybody you know, like and share. Before I come on the show every night, I share, because there's some people, some of whom are challenged with the technology, and they just want me to send them the link. I send them the link. So like and share. We have 401. It's not too far from 400. I mean 500. So let me go some more. Somebody said 403. I ain't get to my 403 yet. You faster than me. But we need those likes. We need those likes for more people to see what we are doing, so that people understand what this government is doing to us, what they want to do to Kimar. But I don't worry about what they're doing to me, because I am fearless. Nobody frightens me. I'm an older person now, not older. My last child works for more than me, so I don't have to worry about taking care of my little kids. So I'm not worried about them. Only yesterday on the march, a guy inside the road told me, "I always warning you. I tell you be careful." I got one of the vendors, you know. I am careful. I tell him, my protector is above. And anytime some person wants to get me, he'll deal with them first. I like 40.
Yeah, you know.
420.
You know, and as Michelle said, they should all these people, if they're coming in the name of, they say they're coming, they want us to stop us from speaking about the Prime Minister. You know, if you're in a position like that, this is threatening, especially for young women. She's a young woman, not married, but obviously she's gonna feel vulnerable. They need to come out and renounce these things. You know, they need to quiet down their supporters. What if somebody gets hurt? Yeah. Yes.
The likes have slowed down. I'm still waiting, you know.
Yeah, as you said, there are lots of people, they're even afraid to comment. People say they want to comment, but they don't know how to change their names. People want to come to the march. There was a lady who she wrote something in one of the chats. I told her that I'm not going to mention her name, but she was saying that, listen, she want to come, but she's concerned. You know, she has her mortgage to pay and all of that. Mm-hmm.
There is a kind of paralyzing fear, you know, and they enjoy it. They subscribe to that nonsense. You see, when they go ahead and they're going to bring these spiritualist voodoo people from Africa and bring them to the Queen's Park and things, that had people fearful too, you know. We got 1,000 pastors in Barbados. You are going to bring spiritualists from Africa because you want to give the impression that you can work something on them.
Right. But people must be afraid. But we are not afraid. Well, we're going to end the show here. It's 10:13. So we're going to end. All right, guys. Kimar, stay strong. And
so before we go, a few more likes. For 42 miles, yeah. We're getting there to the 500. Just tell them continue sharing after we've gone. After the show is closed, they can still like.
People on the show tonight.
Yeah, but you know,
we have on YouTube. We got 1,300 on YouTube.
Right, we had up to 1,400, little over 1,400 on between the two. Yeah, folks, we let everybody get into pushing it and promoting it and getting the word out. Tomorrow night we will have someone on who was actually under this administration, had to leave the country because of the intimidation tactics that were being employed on that person. and they are going to be on the program tomorrow, speaking about it. Yeah. So, all right, folks.
449.
449. Should we wait for the 450?
Yep. One more.
One more.
Good. 453.
Excellent.
453. All right. Wonderful. Mr. Franklin, you're the best at that. I can't get it done. All right, guys. Good night and keep prayerful. Keep prayerful, guys. Keep prayerful. All right. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mass nor English, English. Pretending to be good, pretending to be good, just pretending to be good.